for good. Not in a satisfying way, like not in like a look, just look, that's it, it's it. But in a way that it's like I get it enough. Like I'm done focusing on music and stuff. Like I do truly get it. The dog chasing its tail is the snake eating itself. Like that's the big lesson. You know, when I look back on the wasp trip, it actually gave me a lot of really good frameworks. The dog chasing its tail, it gave me a Aperion beam where I understood myself as like one will. Um, and the dog chasing its tail one's really good because what that one's saying is like it's not just saying like you're a dog chasing its tail, don't do that. Like it's much more complex than that. What it's actually saying is you are a dog chasing its tail, and that's what you feel like. But that dog chasing its tail is the exact same thing as the snake eating itself. You're just perceiving it differently. It's not saying become the snake eating itself. It's saying you are like misinterpreting the snake as a dog chasing its own tail. You are foolishly running around in search of the snake when you are it. So let's put this into like actual understandable language. If I go to get a drink of water and I think, oh, well, I'm going to stop thinking about how I'm God to go get the drink of water. Then I suddenly become the dog chasing its tail. And I suddenly, whenever I return back to whatever I think is the right time to start thinking that I'm God, well, then I'll be fucked because I'll have to get all the way back there. And not just that, but the whole concept of there being a there that I have to get to is going to fuck me up. And like just every single detail which comes with that, like all of the downsides, like it goes beyond just snapping out of it. It goes to the fact that like it makes snapping into it more difficult, but it shouldn't even necessarily because there should be nothing to snap into. You never should have left it. You aren't separate. The whole concept of you thinking that you need to leave it for a specific task and then regain it for others is like that's already proving that you misunderstand it. That shouldn't even really be possible. Because you should be so inseparable from it, and your understanding that you should be inseparable from it should be so persistent based on the nature of its truth that you shouldn't be able to just relinquish it, and it should not be so energy consuming that you need to relinquish it for petty tasks anyways. It should just make those petty tasks better. And for all of those reasons and more, um, you need to understand that you're God while you do silly shit, while you're the dog chasing its tail, whenever you're getting on your phone to see if the package got delivered, whenever you're walking inside because your throat is parched, whenever you are getting off your bike to change batteries, whenever you are fucking walking to the mailbox. I mean, like literally anything. Oh, turning the handle of the doorknob, taking a piss, washing your hands, walking from the car to the school, anything that you think, well, this is just a little thing. I can just wait. This is fine. This is a little tiny annoying thing. I'll just when I get to the big thing, then I'll do it. And it's like you failed. You're a moron. You already fucked up. I'm trying to think of a way to explain this. An analogy. It would be like, okay, I guess this is pretty good. It's like thinking I'm going. I guess it's like being Volkanovski. It's like thinking, oh, I'll just not train, and then that'll make me even better when I'm in there because I'll be rested. And then you go and you get head kicked in the first round.
Yeah.
That's basically what it's like. It's like you're like, oh, I'll just wait. I'll just wait to work out. I'll just wait to learn to fight until I'm fighting. I was like, well, no, you're gonna want to know how to fight when you're in there. It's the same thing with this, where it's like, oh, I'll just wait until the important moments are in the framework. And it's like, no, you're retarded. No, you're actually gonna want to practice on the smaller moments so that the easier
Because then you
moments
have no
are.
foundation to work with.
Yeah, your muscles are not there. I'm sure I could tie it to my back, but who cares? I'm not gonna give another analogy. I need to stop giving so many analogies. Okay, so, yeah, you are the dog chasing its tail, but that is not the snake eating itself. You just have to understand that the dog chasing its tail is already. You know what? Oh my god, that's so cool, Trevor. Do you remember my frameworks, open and closed loop?
Yeah.
That's so cool. This is literally open and closed loop. That's literally exactly what this is. The dog chasing its tail is an open loop, and the snake eating itself is the closed loop. It's literally the understanding that you can have an open loop, which is any time that you do not directly understand that you are God. And then you have the closed loop, which is the understanding that you are God, and they can literally happen in the same words. You can have the words that are saying, I am not God, and that... You good?
Yeah.
But you need to calm down.
I can hear you.
Hey.
Like, you good?
Yeah.
So, in the same way that like you can have the thought I am not God, and then you can have that as an open loop thought where like you understand like you like an open loop is trying to get to God. A closed loop is understanding that you are God. And that can happen instantly. You can literally the words I am not God can be perceived in an open loop capacity and they can be perceived in a closed loop capacity. You can think the words I am not God and then right after that you can intellectualize that as oh man, it sucks that I'm not God. Or the moment you think that you can also intellectualize that exact same thought, those exact same words, those exact same feelings, and then you can perceive them as a closed loop, which would mean you would hear the words "I'm not God," and the way you would think about them is, look, this thing thinks it is not God. That is a microcosm of the vaster will to taste the best thought texture. One of its symptoms is the misconception that you are separate. That is another flavor, and God wishes to taste all flavors. And like you can literally perceive the thought I am not God from a closed loop. You can perceive the thought that I am not God as God, or you could perceive from an open loop. And the same thing with the thought I am God. You can have the thought I am God, and it can be open loop, which means you're like an ego trying to be like, yeah, come on, I am. Trust me, I am. And then you get knocked out because you're a fucking idiot trying to mimic it. You're like trying to like force yourself there. You're trying to like hype yourself up into God because you think God is a state to chase. When in all actuality, you could think that same thought from a closed loop perspective, which is I am God, and then in that moment you understand that the thing which thinks it is God is not God, but that is only because um it is, which obviously that sounds so retarded. That sounds contradiction on top of contradictions to the point where it becomes meaningless. But what I mean by that is you are not God in the sense that the thing which just thought to itself it is God is not. But the thing which formed itself into that thought, the feeling of that thought, what that is on, the greater experiencer, the greater brain, the greater computer, which is running the code, I mean, whatever
Yeah.
retarded analogy you want to put to it, the greater thing is that. So even though the individual thought that says it's God isn't God, God is still the one who experiences the thought that it is God and the experience that that thought is not God. So it's all God anyways. And that's the closed loop. So like, do you see what I mean? Where like that's the difference between open loop and a closed loop. And in the
Yeah.
same way, whenever you're getting water, you can be pouring the glass of water and be thinking about it like a dog chasing its tail, where you got shit bouncing around your head and you're like constantly chasing it and thinking, well, that one seems better. That one might lead me to this, and this one might lead me to that. And oh man, what about the left hook and how that connects to the right leg? Or you can just be sitting there and you can watch those thoughts drift by as the water pours into your cup as you just always maximize towards the best thought texture because you are God. And so like that is the dog chasing its tail snake um framework. Um, that's a really good framework. That's good shit. It's funny how someone will do that, where like it'll give you something which seems like innocuous in the moment, and then it'll ripen like wine over the next couple weeks. You're like, oh, that's actually really profound. Um, but
It literally is. It's just like acid. It takes time to corrode.
yeah, for real. But so what next? So me and Jock had a conversation. Um, I don't know what I was tying that into. I guess I'll just switch topics. Do, 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 do. Oh, I don't think I even read this. I was on a walk today and I had the thought of separating emotions, linguistic thought, speech, and physical action slash body into different entities. I noticed that I am deciding to move my body and deciding to talk, but my talking branch does not have power over my body branch. Like they're independent yet connected. I was trying to unravel this depression I'm in, or rather, why I'm in contradiction to myself. What do you think of this? It was fascinating to treat my tongue and my arms as separate beings, like they each have their own personalities. When I realized that, it made me laugh and giggle and dance and jiggle. Oh fuck, Jacques is entertaining as hell, man. For example, if you zone out, your hand might start moving on its own. Just now, it was massaging my leg while I talked in my head. I believe placing your consciousness on the space between your thoughts and actions is quite nice and trippy and beautiful. I was sad and my heart hurt. It was making me give up on walking. I thought my thoughts and actions could form an alliance to help my heart. When I did cognitive behavioral therapy in a psych ward, the guy explained there's a triangle between thought, action, and feeling where they form a matrix and each feed off of each other. This reminds me of mind, body, spirit, or mind, heart, and soul, one of the trinities. I forget all that now. Ash, an urgent message from Jacques. Breakdancing on acid is necessary. So yeah, he took acid yesterday.
Oh, really?
Half tab. He said he said half tab's nothing crazy. It still took me places though, especially on this bus ride through downtown LA. I fucking bad tripped myself a bit, like existential ego torture, but then went to rave and everyone watched everyone interact and danced, and it was hype and thought about a lot. Punk show than rave. Downtown LA was post-apocalyptic and it was sick tripping. So that's interesting. Sounds like it sounded like his was kind of like mine, but it was like mostly just like shit going on, but still kind of insightful.
Yeah, I wonder what that would be
Um,
like going to a rave. I mean, that's always the classic place to go to, but I wonder if it was good.
So dude, apparently Jock does MMA practice, Muay Thai practice, and BJJ practice.
How does he afford all that?
He doesn't have a job, so you know, they're probably through his retard program. They're like, just go do something, bud.
I'm just
Honestly, you think they wouldn't want to teach the psychos elbows?
yeah, it's it's very. I would have no idea they could use that for
Dude, the
stuff like that.
poor fucking psych ward guard that has to try and pin down Jacques now. Dude, before we were talking about moving in with him and being like, yeah, but we could take him. Now that he trains Muay Thai, I have no fucking idea if I could take Jacques. Oh my god, that's terrifying.
That's a threat. That is a
Um,
terrifying threat.
so he says, I noticed at the rave I was way more dominant though. I was also on acid. It was instead of dissipating my ego because I was around people and music, I built an ego to sustain allowing me to dance. But like people bumped into me or it felt like I just generated space around me. It was interesting. And then we talked about the gi. And he's like, I hate being grabbed by the gi. It genuinely pisses me off. And I said, I hate everything about the gi. Useless bullshit. Unless I'm fighting a Ku Klux Klan member, I'll never be able to use any of that retarded shit. Plus, it's so unintuitive. And then, anyways, I said, I find I dance much better without ego, but as long as the ego is fun, there's no huge issue. You just have to be ready to stomp it out. You can have an ego like ice cream. Too much is bad. He said, You're right. When I just zoned into the sensations and the rhythm, it became a game. It was way better. Water the flower and don't wash it, girl. He loves that saying. It's pretty good, honestly. You remember he said that in one of his manic
Yeah, it was
episodes.
like a year ago.
Yeah, he still says that, which is based. Uh, I said, the speaker is not the one who knows, the voice is not the one who dances, just like the voice is not the one who fights. He said, hell yeah, I love creating or noticing that separation. It makes me giggle. Stuff like that is so funny to hear. Because it's just like, it's so much something that I would say if like I hadn't, if we hadn't talked so much about it, had so much language for it, like it makes me giggle. It's like such a, like, yes, it does, doesn't it? He said, like when I went insane, I had this low key persona and I separate everything. He became my voice or expressive branch. It's quite interesting. And I said, I would look into left brain, right brain. Master the Emissary talks about this entirely from neuroscience. And he said, yeah, I remember a year ago, I listened to it and smoked a bit and was able to feel that non dual model in my head, whatever you call it. And I said, it has no name. The Tao that can be named is not the eternal Tao. He said, I got it as a feeling, a sort of 3D shape painted with feeling. Man, if only someone had a word for that.
Gee,
You know what I mean? If only someone made a word for a feeling and sort of a 3D shape painted with feeling. Man, if only someone had thought of that before and then given it a label.
and we
Too
went
bad no
over
one did.
that with him 2 years ago.
Well, yeah. I said thought texter, and he said, "Yeah, I was gonna say." I thought, well, you should have said, "Fucking dummy." He was always so bad about that, about technically knowing the words and then just not using them whenever they could have been used. And it was like, this is clearly what you're trying to express. Why are you using so many words to express this? We have a word for this. You know the word for this,
And we
dog.
will completely
Um,
understand what you're saying.
Yeah, we completely understand and have explained the exact thing you're trying to explain to us right now, and you know that we've done this, and you remember the word. Why don't you just use it? He says in Christianity they separate the flesh, body, and spirit. I said you should see how complex the model is now. He said I think that's fun to play with. I've been mentally gone for a long time, and I said Zix Azix Xazix to his flesh, body, spirit thing. He said my capacity to think is coming back. I said same. He said, I just got to nurture it, can't take it for granted and fall again. I said, the only way to take it for granted is to worship false idols, but it's easy, too easy. As long as you do not chase after it, but understand that it always was, is, and will be it, you're cooling. And he said, elaborate on false idols. I said, the chase leads to separation. He said, it's about abstracting, or it's about attracting indirectly, like a dance that changes the wind. I'm saying with the wind. I said, false idols are named for the eternal Tao. You can attract it directly, but only by understanding that you're never apart. If you look at it as something up there, you will never reach it. You are already wrong. He said, I think once I tried to treat all experience as a relationship, cultivating a relationship enriches all facets of life. Every instant you're interacting with your greatest love, maybe. And he replied to my chat where I said, you are already wrong. And he said, ha ha ha, bro sounds like the snake in the garden. That was always his thing where, you would say something like you're wrong or you're right. And then to him, it's like, that's evil because like truth is evil. And like, you have to stay in the subjective until you're Loki and it's seven hells. And then all of a sudden that's not subjective. You know what I mean? That was always his thing. But he asked, do you think linguistic, are you still there?
Yeah.
He says, do you think linguistic attempts to describe or prayers to solidify yourself are wrong and you should be malleable always? And I said, yes, that is correct. If you do not become entangled with the dualism that comes with relationship, in quotes, that's pretty much exactly it. Basically, all frameworks are a lever to achieve the best thought texture. He said, maybe trying to achieve the thought texture is wrong too. And I said, I am the snake in the garden, God in his throne, and an infinitesimally small peon. And he said, simply work without reward. And he said, I got a small peon. I don't know. Fun talk, fun shit. Fun talk, miss this shit. And I said, work towards what end? He said, have you ran into more people? I said, no. You were the only other one. And I said, in the end, all work is for the best thought texture. Even work that you say is not done. Oh, even work that you say is not is only done in the end to achieve it, which is the best thought texture. He responds with, I'm reminded of Devin telling me he felt I was more interesting in seeing reality clearly, and you were more interested in manipulating it. Well, in a way, you're not wrong. In another way, you can only get to a clear understanding of reality by manipulating it.
Yeah, that
Because,
just seems so obvious.
yeah.
Because your
But
default
yeah.
state is not clear, so you have to manipulate yourself to see it that way.
Yeah, like I mean, literally the easiest way to explain this is just imagine any animal. Imagine a bat that uses echolocation. Imagine a gorilla that's incapable of communicating or cognizing what is around it. Like these animals have a default state that is because of their genetics that has led them to perceive the truth in a slanted way that is beneficial for their survival. So in the same way, if you go, psst, a dog isn't going to care at all and might come to you. A cat is going to instantly run away because their genetic template has predisposed them to have specific reactions to different stimuli. And both of those creatures, if they could see clearly, would understand that the sound has no meaning. The sound only has meaning based on its context. But because of their genetic template, they are incapable of seeing that truth. So you must overcome your default template to see clearly. You must overcome the you must build glasses to fix your broken eyes. Like that's just the best way to say it. Like you were born with shit eyes. You got to build glasses to fix it. You can't just look really hard, which is what they try to do. And then you become
Yeah,
Loki.
makes sense.
But so anyways, he says, I say, now you are correct that if you chase the best thought texture, I said, now you are correct that if you chase the best thought texture, that you can disrupt your ability to achieve it. And then he says in response, keep in mind, we're typing back and forth very quickly, so it's a little jumbled. So back up here, whenever I said, you are the only other one, in the end, all works for the best thought texture. Even work that you say is not is only done to achieve it. He responds to that and says, like trying to rearrange the sand rather than letting it fall. Think about that. Trying to rearrange the sand rather than letting it fall. That's literally the code thing, where it's like you have grains, you have like these individual minute grains of experience, and your
Yeah.
job is to just arrange those grains in the best feeling way. And like it's basically the exact same thing that like this is what Jacques is so fucking good at. This is why like you'll never stop having Jacques withdrawals and coming back. No matter how many times he goes crazy, he always fucking comes back and says these things that he shouldn't know. He should have no way of knowing. He shouldn't know that sand is code. He shouldn't know about the code. He should have no way of knowing about the code. But he's got that antenna built into his head where he experiences the thoughts that I have a million miles away and then comes and talks to me about them as if I haven't already had them. Like, how does he know these things? Weird guy, this little feller is.
Actual telepathy.
Legitimately. And so he says, so I say, but that desire must also become so now. I said, now you are correct that if you chase the best thought texture, that you can disrupt your ability to achieve it. But that desire must also become a framework, another lever to achieve it, and so it dissolves. He says, if you have a thought texture outcome in mind, you might shoot short of your potential. So as you can see, it's literally like him saying things and me countering them before he says them. Like literally like before he says that like you can disrupt your ability to achieve the best thought texture by trying to chase after the best thought texture, I'm saying now you're correct that if you chase it, now you are correct that if you chase the best thought texture, you can disrupt your ability to achieve it. It's like I'm precognizing him. And then I say, but that desire must also become a framework, another lever to achieve it, and so it dissolves. And he says, if you have a thought texture outcome in mind, you might shoot short of your potential. Like that's literally him texting 1 second later and me like Wild West pulling out my pistol 1 second quicker and literally hitting the answer before he asked the question. So anyways, and I said exactly like a game of Tetris. Um, and yeah, okay. And then he says all theory, and I say don't say all theory. Say prove me wrong, bitch. Ha 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 ha. And he said, ha ha, yeah. I had forgotten what it felt like to build ideas honestly. At the rave, when I got into my ego, I thought about how I need to monetize creativity or use my mind to sustain my life and then gain power. But that was the ego. I still think having a team united is the best way. And he said, Tetris is an interesting analog because if you fuck up, you die. I don't know if that was the interesting thing to take away from that, but sure. Um,
Unlike
I
all other
said,
video games.
yeah, like if anything, Tetris is the least analogous video game to death ever. So anyways, that is absolutely correct. The desire to achieve happiness. I do see what he means though. I said that is absolutely correct. The desire to achieve happiness can make you focus on its lack and become sad. But if you understand all of those, so look, this is a product of the Perkies. This statement right here, the sentence right here, this ability to craft this analogy was 100% because I was on Perkies at the time of writing this, and I could feel it. I said that is absolute, and just listen to how how perfect this is, how perfect that this expresses ideas that I used to would have clambered, um, for like minutes, 15 minutes, just to try and maybe in a roundabout way get to something like this. And I said it in just like one paragraph. I just like got it, just like ding, knockout. That is absolutely correct. The desire to achieve happiness can make you focus on its lack and become sad. But if you understand all of those as mechanisms to achieve the best thought texture, then you will inevitably get rid of the desire. It's like, on one hand, you're right. Don't chase the best thought texture as something separate that you need to reach, because then you'll never get there. But if you understand that the desire to reach it is another Lego brick you must stack to reach it, then you will move past it quickly. As long as you pursue the best thought texture, and not one particular thought texture, you won't get attached and will be fine. The danger is getting snagged. Like that is wonderful. Wonderful stuff. To say, but I want that one like a toddler. And he says, right, that's how you always check me. Would you have to settle eventually, or I suppose mature until death? And I said, settling is death. Stagnation is not possible. He said, I thought a lot about how what I am is a continuation of a being that has existed since the dawn of time. I said, you move up or you move down. Staying in one place never works. He says, like my genetic line goes back to genetics, or I guess the beginning of life makes sense. And we have information from all of time programmed into us. So cool, or beginning of life. Especially since my father is named after my grandfather, with a first name added, and I'm named after my father with a unique first name. It's like a tree growing. And I said, you just can't get snagged on one particular branch. That tree's roots go back to before time and after time. You are no more this branch than that. Both branches are the tree. And he says, this branch had a love-hate relationship with Slim Jims. And I said, many such cases. Um, you must perceive your desire for Slim Jims and the pattern of quantum particles which forge that gem, both as expressions of the universal will to taste, the best thought texture. God is the will to taste. Your will is not separate from the larger will, but a symptom of it. By willing to taste more and more, your flavor came about. If you want to find the best raspberry, you can't just eat one. You have to eat all of them and then decide. So is the nature of God's search. He seeks the best thought texture, but he is blind. You were made to be his eyes. He says, a nice narrative. I heard of that. He said, a compelling one. I said, ha ha ha. He said, would certainly be a nice way to live. And he said, I said, I will give you the full argument on call. He said, could allow for some heinous behavior, though. I said, absolutely. He said, bro, I struggle with morality. I said, any system which allows for none is not compatible with humans. He said, I feel my heart is strongest when I am good. Sin corrupts. I said, no good, no evil. He says, or I'm trying to figure it out. I say, evil comes from the belief there is evil. There's only self optimization. He said, evil can be shortcuts. I said, desire for evil disappears when you realize you are merely another Tetris piece in God's game. Evil is fine. God doesn't care. But you are God, and so is the individual you do evil unto. So you'll feel it. And he said, yes, it's a...
Just cut out. Hello, hello, hello. Cannot hear you.
Hello?
Hey there.
Hold on. Mm-hmm. Okay. You still recording?
Yes.
Hold on. Jesus. Really? Discord, buddy. Is this necessary? Trevor, do you know where the fucking setting to change where my audio output, like where your voice comes from, is? Does it need to be hidden in some fucking setting menu that isn't the first one that I see?
I do not know where it is right off.
Do you not think that that's fucking insane that neither one of us know where it is?
Yeah. I have some memory of where it is.
I can't hear what you're saying because I can't control where your voice is coming from. That is insane. It should be right where the fucking mic is. Why? Why do I, when I look at the bottom, is there a settings thing? And then why would I click on it to have every fucking setting on Discord? Why would there not be a separate settings menu for fucking call related things. God
So
damn.
I see on settings, there's on app settings, there's voice. And it's by clicking your
I can't
profile.
hear you. Hold on. Are you fucking kidding me? Piece of shit. Okay, try talking now.
All right, I'm talking right now. Do I sound any better?
I'm fine.
Alrighty.
Do I sound fine?
Yes, you do.
Do I sound better than I did before, or worse, or what?
I don't think any better. But
No.
not
I
worse.
mean, do I? I mean, like literally before, like I hung up. Lose my phone dying. Do I sound better than then?
Yeah, I think so. You sound a bit
Yeah,
crisper.
that I should. I'm on my PC right now. So anyways, you can hear from that like Jock's back. Like he's saying he bit in his like timid state where like he doesn't really want like he's capable of engaging with ideas, he's capable of providing stimulating counter arguments. He doesn't really want to agree with you. He's what's it called? Devil's advocate. He's back to devil's advocate Jacques. But he's not Loki Jacques, so we can work with devil's advocate Jacques.
Yeah, he's just the intellectual jock.
Yeah, which is great. Good.
Yeah,
Provide counter arguments that I can knock down. That's fine.
seemingly California civilized him.
Yeah, or Muay Thai did, catching a couple
Getting
fucking
punched in the
elbows.
face, yeah.
That'll take you down a notch real quick. But
Wasn't he
so
always like scared of that? Like, oh, do you get punched in the face? Like,
yeah, he always used to remember like we talked about it, and he was like, I'd rather learn Kung Chi where you close your eyes and get wooden swords swung at your head. It's like, yeah, I'd love to see you use that in a fight, bud.
yeah.
But okay,
Hold on
so
1 second. Yeah. All right, hello.
good now.
Say again?
Good.
Yep.
Okay, so Hold on. I'm pulling up Jacques' combo. I'm gonna try and finish as quickly as possible. So, just in general, I want to hear what you think of what we said back and forth so far. I want to hear what you think about. I want to hear. Do you think over the last couple, like the last week or two, do you think that my self dick sucks have been warranted? So, like, whenever I stop for a second to go, check out how good this one is. Do you think that, do you think that those are that much better than my regular pop offs? Like, in other words, I'm always decent. I'm always relatively articulate, but I feel like it has noticeably stepped up in the past week
Well,
or two.
is
Would
this
you
a
agree?
text conversation? I don't usually see like your rants put into text format, like written out.
I guess that's kind of true. I would still say, even in the language department, I mean, you were just kind of seeing that yesterday, where it's like words. You're not seeing as much today. I feel so terrible today. I feel so unbelievably awful today. It is insane. But yeah, I definitely think that my ability to convert my thought textures into language has improved, maybe exponentially, at least like twofold, something like that. Okay, I found the spot in the messages. um so I said many such cases perceive the Slim Jim as God. He said a nice narrative, compelling. I said, but certainly, he said, I'll get for it. He said evil can be shortcuts. I said desire for evil disappears. Jesus, what? I thought. Oh, here we go. You can do. Okay. He said if you accept all this, then what better way to prove free will than resist? What? And stop me and say anything if you have anything to say. Obviously, as far as like I'm reading continually, but like if you have anything interesting, any point you disagree with me or agree with him or anything, say it. But so yeah, if you accept all this, then what better way to prove free will than resist what you know to be the best way? What braver thing? This is where Devin comes from, I think. Hence Satanism. He. And I said, you can do that to prove free will, but free will is proven without you doing that. It's like saying, watch this. I'm going to blow my brains out to prove it's possible.
It was like, what is the point of that? Like the goal is to make your life more efficient, and if you're saying the goal to make life more efficient, so to do that you live an inefficient life, then that inherently
Yeah.
self-contradictory.
It's literally, it's exactly what I say right here, where I say, you can do that to prove free will, but free will is already proven without you doing that. It's like saying, watch this, I'm going to blow my brains out to prove it's possible. And then everyone's just like, yeah, we already knew that, big guy. Like, that is literally exactly what it's like. It's just like, okay, I mean, I knew you could do that, but yeah, I guess
Yeah, and like
it
I'm
is
not trying to
possible. You're
prove
not
that. I'm
wrong.
just trying to live it.
And then he says, yeah, it's just being petty towards life for perverse satisfaction, a crooked smile that deep down is hollow. And I said, it's not even satisfaction. He said, but maybe you could fill it with hate, he. And I said, it's like a 14-year-old girl making up trauma to get pity. It's wallowing in sorrow. And he said, and I said, no self, no pity. He said, yeah. And I said, hate is fine. He said, so right. I said, hate can move. Cold, precise hate is wonderful. Just do not let hate become haste. Hot hatred can get your head knocked off. And he said, yep. Agreed. I said, and I said, we're so back. And then he sent a retarded meme of Drake. It's that like 2016 format of like Drake on a yellow background. Putting his hand up, say no, and then smiling, say yes. And it's like, it says Uranus, and it's just regular picture of Uranus, and it says our anus, and it shows a communist red Uranus, like that, that's another classic Jacques move. It's like big chungles type cringe in the middle of saying something based. I sent a meme back that said, my life is just a cycle of learning and forgetting and relearning and re-forgetting, and that's such a good meme. And he said, so what are your plans with college? I said, I'm doing it right now, but if I keep doing it, I will tear teachers' eyes out, fill their sockets with honey, and hold their kids' eyes open while fire ants eat their brain. Most disappointing shit I've ever seen. Doing college makes me pray AI scrapes us off the planet. We get God's gift of life and we make ourselves squander it on this disgusting, pitiful. And he said, well, bro, just know I am in fuck it, we ball territory right now. So like, I want to rip this shit and conquer the world, but maybe that's my ego. And I said, it is, but that ego's fine until it gets in the way, which it will, then kill it. And he said, and I said, you have to be above any of the little egos, whip them all into shape. And he said, what do you think about women? Like the ego there. It's strong. Or I don't know if ego is the right word. Being in love is a drug and it's maybe worth it. And I said, I have no thoughts on women. They're weird. I don't know if they are all retarded or if it's just confirmation bias. I think it's probably just that statistically I talk to women less frequently than men, so I'm not as likely to come in contact with a female that thinks. I used to think all women were retarded until I realized all men are retarded. Now the question is just which one's more retarded, and I don't know. I'm surprised I've never even heard a book or video from a woman that was uniquely creative, but I wouldn't be surprised if that was more socio-cultural conditioning than actual biological traits. And he says men and women are parts that fit together. Women exist passively, so have a lot more indirect manipulation and intuition. I love women. And I said, I've never met a woman with good intuition. And he said, they're built to follow us, I believe. And I hearted that and said, women make terrible listeners. It goes back to my classic joke, which is get women the fuck out of the kitchen. I do not want them cooking for me. Get their hands the fuck away from my dishes. I'll do it myself, goddammit. But that is legitimately the way I feel. It's like Jacques, like the Jacques is trying to do like the red pill thing, which is like women should be subordinate to you. And I will always say, it's like, get them the fuck out of my way. Get them away from me. Get them out of my house and away from the things that I'm trying to do. Literally, it would take more time to get them to competently execute a task than it would to just do it yourself. Just fucking do it yourself. But like I said, I don't think that really is a fault of women being women. I don't think that's inherent to women. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know that for a fact. But my experiences would tell me that all women are retarded. But my understanding of the world would tell me it's probably more sociocultural conditioning than biology.
You should take a women's studies class and discuss that with a professor.
Yeah. A woman's study class. I'm sure they've got lots of insightful things to say.
I'm absolutely certain.
I bet you could do a good women's studies class, but I bet it is the antithesis of that. I bet if I was a woman and I took a women's studies class, I would be so disgusted. But anyways, I said, he said they're built to follow us, I believe. He said women exist passively, so they have a lot more indirect manipulation and intuition. I said I've never met a woman with good intuition, perhaps manipulation. And he said they're built to follow us. I said women are terrible listeners. He said, haha, you gay. I don't know. You have to be the strong one. They can't fix your problems. I said, I have no interest in forcing someone to think like me. That's more disgusting than someone who disagrees, man or woman. If you're merely a parrot, I loathe you. And he says, I don't know. It's not like that. I just think I'm ultimately incomplete without a woman. I said, no, you're addicted. And he said, and I think you disagree with some of this. So jump in where you disagree with my takes on this. He says, or I cannot fulfill my greatest potential. There is power and passion to be found there. I said, what do they add to your potential that you could not achieve on your own? He says, once you're purified as an individual, you can amplify it with a woman. I said, there is power and passion to be found in any medium. The question is the time consumption. I don't buy that at all, not women or men. Anytime you depend on someone else, prepare to be fucked. You've set your trap. He says, you have to be independent first, and then they are a compliment. I said, you should never not be independent. I'm not saying hate women and isolate. I have different friends with benefits regularly. Women are really exhilarating to be around. They can get you high. And he says, nah, yeah, you're way more successful with women than me, at least in that sense. Maybe I should listen. And I said, my lifestyle isn't any more or less admirable. Just a question of efficiency. More bodies does not equate to more fun, but it can, and it's less time consuming. He says, love and heartbreak have been integral to my development. They propel me forward, but I'm a pretty insecure or immature person. Or it's like I'm moving awkwardly through life, slowly refining, and they're efficient catalysts. And I said, nothing wrong with love and heartbreak. The same way there's nothing wrong with heroin. And he says, hell yeah, the advice I needed. I'm getting into bullshit word soup territory. I'm gonna tap out. Gotta get ready to meet someone as well. And I said, Godspeed, soldier. He said, definitely call soon. I missed this. And I said, yes, try tomorrow. Me too, brother. Me too. The good old days part 2 about to start. He says, sweet. We could be starving in a cobalt mine right now. I have no idea what he meant by that. No idea.
Wait, say it again in context.
This is the last couple sentences. Hell yeah. I said, women, heroin, same thing. He said, hell yeah, advice I needed. I'm gonna go meet someone. I said, Godspeed. He said, definitely call soon. I missed this. And I said, hell yeah, good old days part 2 about to start. And he says, we could be starving in a cobalt mine right now.
We could be. Well, is
not wrong.
Is that at all related to? Didn't he talk about going to Africa at one point?
I don't think so.
That can't be hallucination. I thought like he at least discussed the idea of like instead of going to California, like going to Africa or something.
Maybe that did happen. Although even if that did happen, which I wouldn't be surprised if it happened, I don't remember, but I would not be surprised at all to hear that is true. I don't think that he would even be referencing that. Like, I think
Yeah.
that is just like that's just a classic Jacques move, not
Just
even like
a
a
classic
crazy Jacques
Jacques.
move.
Classic Jock
That's
joke.
not even like a sign of Jacques being schizophrenic. That's just like that is just a part of Jacques in any of his forms. And he said, last thing, do you think guarding your heart and being selective about love is good, or just ripping that shit? My philosophy has been, I'm a fall hard and watch it burn, but maybe that damages my ability to bond. And I said, I don't think that it damages your ability to bond, but I think it's going to make you waste a lot of valuable time. Many would say I'm damagingly selective, perfectionist. But like I said, love is like heroin. If you're gonna do it, you better make sure it's worth it. And he said, I know what you mean, definitely. Wasted my life for a bitch just now. Wiped myself out. Yeah. And I said, wasted years for nothing. Sickening stuff. He says, it was just straight out of depression. I was given this enticing love and I went for it. Going months without being able to connect with anyone and an intense love is a trip. And I said, yeah, that's not the worst thing. Like a sad movie, depressing but also beautiful. He said, you right. You said quote unquote pussy. So, the joke he's making is that I'm calling him a pussy. But he said, yeah. Peace, bro. Talk soon. I said toodaloo. That was it. So, anyways, pretty good conversation. Like you can tell, he's doing quite well. Like he's pretty intellectually stimulating, pretty like on par, keeping up with the ideas.
Yeah, there's like a magic
Summarizing
behind
to
his
me.
words.
Yeah, he's got that spark. You can tell he's got that fucking spark back. 100%. And
Is
of
he
course,
saying?
it
So is
aligns.
he saying that, like this is from his perspective? Is this whatever he's going through? Is this new? Has he always been like this? Like where is he at in comparison to like let's say a few months ago or over the summer?
No, he said very clearly, even the message I just read to you, that he just got back this week. In the same way I just got back this week to like the peak. Like in other words, this is the first week where like you heard me say on this call, I'm done. I'm done listening to music. I'm done waiting. I'm done. The framework is done. It's complete. Like that's bizarre for me to say. Like that's
What do you mean
insane for me to
listening to
say.
music?
I mean like for about a year now, I haven't listened to any intellectual content. I haven't listened to any philosophy or science or anything with words. I only listen to music. I'll listen. So, for instance, for the last week, did I send you the screenshot from YouTube Music that said your replayed songs? And my second place I'd listened to 5 times, and my first place I'd listened to 162 times.
I did not see that.
Yeah. So, like, what I'll do a lot of the times, I'll just pick one song. You complain about it whenever I play music in the car. I'll pick one song and I'll just replay that song for days until I get tired of it. Because I find that's the way you get the most plays out of a song. I find that typically I'll get tired of a song in a week, whether or not I play it unlimitedly. So basically, if you're going to get tired of something in a week, then you might as well eat as much of it as possible. You might as well listen to as much of it as possible. If you're gonna not like shrimp scampi in a week anyways, if you eat it one time, then fuck it. You might as well eat it 90 times. And that is like the exact same way I feel about music. I think I just sent you the song. That's not what I meant to do, but that is a good song. That's when I was talking. You heard me talk about this. Omar Apollo, Useless. This is the song. This is actually not even the first time I've juiced this song. So this isn't even the first time that I've only listened to this song for like a week. So yeah, I mean, I've listened to the song at least 300 times. And that's not no exaggeration. I mean, literally, I have definitely listened to the song 300 times. There's no
That's
doubt in my
wild.
mind. But
Earlier today, I was editing a song. I had used Audacity, and it's extremely easy to just like essentially just remix the song. I was putting like different parts of the song in different locations, and like it's kind of different than just audio, like reversing it and trying to play it and like using the apps on the phone because they're not very good. But I'd like to see what you could come up with using Audacity. Just like how easy it is to remix a song. I'll try and send you what I had done earlier.
you're saying Audacity is significantly easier than a phone. Like, what did you say made it significantly easier?
It's just like you import a song and then you have the entire song right there and you see like the graph of how it goes up and down, and you can just copy and paste, highlight any area of that song of any audio part you want, and then copy and paste it anywhere you want, or delete parts of it and select individual moments and replay it again and again so you can hear what it sounds like. It's just extremely easy to edit it and customize what it sounds like to remix it essentially.
Basically, it's just like instead of switching between 3 different apps that each take a minute, you're just capable of like doing it all in like 5 seconds. Basically, what you're saying, right? That's
Yeah,
that's what
yeah.
it does. It doesn't do anything new or special. It just does all of that in a much
Yeah,
more
it just
updated,
simplifies and makes it
streamlined way.
convenient.
I see. Yeah, definitely. I'll try that. So what I mean when I say the framework is done is, and when I say like I'm done listening to music, is I mean like I'm gonna go back to content this week. I'm gonna go back to intellectual content this week. You've never heard me say that in the last year. You haven't heard me say that. What like I can't express to you how meaningful it was whenever I said the words to you today that the framework is done. Like in other words, I will be recording and uploading videos by a week from now. I will go back to listening to theories of everything instead of music by a week from now. And by that I don't mean in
Yeah,
a
I've
week
been
from now
meaning to go
I'll be
back to
ready.
them.
Yeah, well, it's everything. It's not just like go back to them. It's like go back to where I'm back to where I was when I listened to them in the first place. I'm here again. I get it. Every time I think about that Danny DeVito meme, do you know what I'm talking about? Whenever I mention that,
Which one?
I'll send it to you and make it make sense. Sometimes I wonder how much of what I say that you don't understand, that you don't ask questions about.
Yeah, I don't know what you just said, Sai. If it was a reference, I did not catch it.
Is you saying I glitched out? What else you saying?
No, I'm saying I didn't
Or you
catch
saying
it.
you?
I didn't recognize it.
Well, I brought this up several times. It's not sorry. I mean, I'm genuinely curious. I've like, in other words, like, I've brought this up multiple times. It's this particular meme. I've said the Danny DeVito meme. And like I've probably said this like probably like 4 times last week. I probably said it like 8 times in the last month. And like it doesn't matter if you get it or not.
Oh,
It's not like a
yeah,
meaningful.
I get this meme. It just whenever you say that, it's just such like a fluid sentence, and usually like coincides with what you're talking about. I didn't know you're referencing a meme.
But so anyways, what I said after that was I wonder how much of the time you don't understand what I'm saying and you don't ask about it. Like I wonder how many times I'll say to something like Danny DeVito meme and you have no clue what I'm talking about, but you're like, yep. You know what I mean? Like sometimes whenever you say something like this where I've said something 8 times and then it comes up that you didn't get it any of those times, it's like how much of what how many things do I say like this where it's like you you don't even know what I'm saying. Funny.
I'm following along most of the time.
I'm a quick speaker, so it's no surprise if things like Danny DeVito meme fucking slip under the radar. But
Yeah, I'm not looking for memes right now.
yeah, that isn't the part of my speech I guess you should be focusing on is the word slip out. But but yeah, that meme I do reference a lot because it is like literally perfect. Like and like that is exactly how I feel whenever I'm talking about where I'm talking about right now, where it's like there's like, oh my god, I get it. Like I get it. I see it now. I finally see the same thing I saw a year ago when I was listening to Theories of Everything. And it's like this is the big discovery. And I've had this multiple times. Oh, multiple times I've got the same discovery, like every other discovery we have. Just like that meme I said to Jacques, which is my life is a series of remembering and forgetting, and then the cycle continues. That is what it is. It is a never-ending cycle of learning something and then understanding it and then forgetting it, learning it, forgetting it over and over and over and over again. And this is the big one, the one that I will not forget this time. This recording should help with that. So keep in mind, this is going to be a relatively shit recording because I feel relatively shitty. That's fine because this is the first time I'm ever talking about this. It's probably good if the first time I ever talked about it is relatively shitty. The next time I talk about this, it will be a lot more complex. So don't take this from Discovery. This is like the rough draft of me trying to work out how to talk about Discovery. It looks something like this. One of the reasons that I needed to get Larry so mapped out, to get his design so hammered down. By the way, he has 3 jaws instead of 4 now.
Okay.
He's got a left bottom jaw, a right bottom jaw, a top jaw. That's why I see the snake images with 3. So if you go back and look at the AI snake images, I think the top right one is really the perfect thing to imagine. You just take off the eyes and obviously imagine they don't have mouths and use the back. If you look at all 3 of those snake heads, it's not heads, but just like fingers basically.
Yeah.
Then you wrap that in skin, and that's exactly what he looks like. If you just give that sandworm teeth poking through
the gaps between the heads. That's exactly what it's saying. And so, anyways, the reason I had to understand what he looked like so much was because I had to understand what it's like for him to breathe. I had to figure out what the experience of him breathing would feel like. Because a huge part of running the framework is understanding I'm gonna take like 30 seconds to try and walk you through the framework. So the reason I had to figure out what it's like for him to breathe is because the whole point of this framework was to start from an entirely a-religious and entirely personally motivated, selfish perspective on the world. Start from maximum efficiency principle, which is just the observation that everything's actions are motivated by the attempt to achieve the most desirable experiences. You disagree with that, you're a fucking idiot, kill yourself. I'm not going to explain that. From this understanding, you'll naturally get to the maximum efficiency principle if you're not a retard. Which is the idea that if every action is motivated, even the actions which you tell yourself are not motivated by the maximum efficiency principle, then why not act in accordance with it? If you're inevitably going to, then fuck it. Might as well be good at it. You're going to be, if your father forces you into basketball, your whole life, don't play basketball. Well, get balling, son. Get dribbling. Leia. And so the understanding here is that everything seeks the best experience. You seek the best experiences. And if you understand and integrate that realization into your life can become better. In the same way, like that's what all of psychology is basically trying to do, is trying to get you to go, look, you desire specific things, and the more that you constrain that desire, the more that desire will corrode and fester into misery. But if you can act in alignment with your desire, then you can exist happily. It's like, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, Freud's whole charted theory, and Jung's whole shtick. It's like everyone, philosophy wants to judge the same thing. You should get the point by now if you've ever taken a class in your life. And so moving on from here, the basic stuff, which is things like good things. You like good things, you should probably try and get good things. Step 2 is what are the good things you're after? So you have a maximum efficiency principle. What are you trying to get? You're trying to get real good at what? What's the game that you're trying to optimize for, right? Basketball, MMA, and baseball all take different muscle groups and skill sets and different practices, right? So in the same way, you got to figure out, well, I can be maximally efficient, but to what end? And obviously, I already spoiled it by saying things want to achieve the best experiences. So you already know where I'm going, which is experiences. That's a little more complex than experiences. It's supposed to seek the best experiences. It's a bit too broad, a bit too vague. You could say the best experiences, and you could think about like eating birthday cake. Is that a good experience? That's good. But if you sit there and eat too much birthday cake, you're gonna inevitably get to a bad experience. And there are plenty of examples of people doing So, to say that people are only motivated by trying to get to the best experiences, it's not exactly accurate. What people do is they are motivated by the desire to achieve the best thought texture. And I'll sort of hammer this out later, maybe change the word I used previously, but I got to run with it now, so we'll see how I do. I don't know how thought textures and experiences differ. And I guess technically, if you have the right definition of experience, then they don't differ. But most people probably don't. So for the people that don't, for the people who have a misunderstanding here, thought textures are a bit more. What's the word for vague context? They're a bit more specific, a bit more precise, I guess is what I'm looking for, in the meaning they convey, where an experience is wild. I don't know. How would you do that? Are they different, Trevor? I kind of walking through a really weird track here. It's nothing to do with it. Is there a difference between experiences and thought textures? I mean, obviously there's a difference in the way you use it in context. But what if you were to actually draw a line between experience and context? I think I kind of fucked myself by drawing that as
Yeah, I guess it depends on which way you look at it, but like in the sense that all things are frameworks, if you could say that, then I think you could also say all things are thought textures, all experiences are thought textures.
Well, no, you can. That's what I'm saying. It's in other words, I think it's picked the wrong one. Yeah, I don't think experiences are that different thought textures. I think thought textures is a more specific thing. So I should have said that it's not one of those words. I think it's a mistake. There's a bigger underlying. Stumbling over the terminology. To reset with different terminology. The first step is the understanding that stop. Restart. I'm going to do this from the Sitho's perspective. This is how I imagine it. I'm not going to try to explain this to an audience. There's some things in my mind.
Your mic, by the way, is not very good right now.
My audio. Okay. This is pretty good, right?
That's better.
Yeah, okay, so basically Larry, not acythrial, Larry is the spike monster, the crystalline lizard inflatable piece of shit. My boy, he's sitting there in the fucking trenches, the diamond trenches with his acid minigun, right? And he's thinking, this shit's ass. I would prefer not to have my stomach ripped open with crystalline claws and have my brain that is connected to my spine ripped out as it gets contaminated with my own stomach acid. That's not preferable. I'd prefer that didn't exist in my future. So I'm going to try and prevent that. I understand that I have certain thoughts which are not helpful to achieving this goal. When someone's trying to kill me, I'm thinking about how much it sucks that they're trying to kill me, all I'm doing is increasing the likelihood that I die. That's not good. I shouldn't do that. So he thinks, okay, I want to be more efficient. I want to not die. How am I going to do that? And then he realizes, okay, well, I want to be most efficient. I have to figure out what to be most efficient at. And it's a little hard to just be most efficient at not dying. So what am I after? What focus is going to get me to not die? And then he goes, okay, well, it seems like what I'm really after, the thing that really motivates me, isn't just not dying. It's achieving the best thought texture. And that by thinking that I'm not achieving the best thought texture, by thinking that war is not another medium of achieving the best thought texture, I am reducing my ability to perform well in war settings. By thinking about the fact that war sucks and I don't like war, I am decreasing my likelihood to survive the war. So I need to probably stop that. I need to probably achieve better thought textures here and now, and I need to probably achieve the best thought textures to survive. So first he realized, certain thoughts, they could get me killed.
I should probably not think those thoughts. I should probably be more efficient. And then he thinks, you know, it's not just thoughts in particular, it's the way that thoughts feel. I can have different thoughts, and it isn't really the thoughts that matter. It's the way that those thoughts interact with my frequency, my emotional state. The way that interacts with those things. My awareness, right? All whatever faggy term you want to use, you fucking tree huggers. It is all expressing the same thing, which is that when I'm fighting someone to the death, I feel confident and powerful, like a warlord. If I am channeling the spirit of the action and enjoying every nuance of the action, then I'll be better at that action. So, like, I mean, you can clearly see this in any aspect of your life. Any one of them, any one at all. If you are shooting a gun and you're thinking about what you want to be doing instead of shooting a gun, you're going to be less accurate. If you're fighting someone, I applaud anyone who disagrees with me. Whatever the word is. I applaud whatever the fuck the word is. Anyone who disagrees with me to go to one Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, one Muay Thai practice, and try and think about not liking fighting while you're fighting and see how well you do, you fucking dummies. You're going to get your absolute block knocked off. Because whenever you're fighting, you have to be thinking about fighting. You can't be thinking about anything else. And obviously, warfare with guns is the exact same way. So, but everything's that way. I mean, fucking putting on your socks. Honestly, this is the best practical example that most people are going to get. Think about if you lose something. Think about losing your phone. Now think about looking for your phone, and the whole time you're looking for your phone, you're thinking, I'm so fucking angry I lost my phone. God damn it, I can't believe I lost my phone. What the fuck are you thinking, God? How dare you make me lose my phone? Yes. Then guess what? You're not going to find your phone, you fucking idiot. You're not looking for it. You're thinking so hard, your eyes aren't working, goddamn dummy. Instead, you have to be thinking about your sight and the different nuances in your sight so that you may potentially notice the difference between what you're currently seeing and what you need to see, which is your phone. And everything else is like that. Everything else, everything. Putting on your fucking socks is like that. Every single other thing is like that. Understand that. I'm not gonna have a bunch of examples. You should get it. Okay, next. So, you have maximum... So, acythrial thinks, I want to not die. Well, it seems like the way to not die is to arrange the way my mind feels in the correct status for different situations. Okay, so then he goes, you know, it seems like the thought textures are sort of dependent on physical... It's not subtracts, it's not substates. It's some word that means like substrate. There we go. Hello?
Hello?
What? Okay. So some tab open, some dude was talking. Anyways, what was I just saying? I was just saying,
Substrate?
yes, substrate, yes. Every single thought texture seems to have a biological substrate. So, if eating raspberries creates the best thought texture, then I can create a raspberry. I think about a raspberry as growing on a bush, but a raspberry doesn't really grow on a bush. A raspberry is technically just like a series of physical phenomena that I could grow in a lab and get the same flavor. Like, I could grow it completely separate of a bush as long as I had all of the ingredients of made of raspberry. And, like, you don't think of a raspberry something with ingredients because it's a fruit. It grows in one place. But as long as you have the genetic makeup, or whatever the raspberry equivalent of that is, I think it would still be genetic makeup, then you are capable of replicating a raspberry without any of the other context you think is necessary to create a raspberry. So a raspberry isn't a thing which grows on a bush or a specific plant that grows in these settings and these parts of the world. It isn't any of that. It is a particular set of... I'm going to use quantum particles. Obviously, zoom in on any layer you want, doesn't matter. A particular set of particles, wavelengths, fucking whatever the hell you want to say, evolution, light, you know what I mean, growing into that through photosynthesis, whatever you want to say, whatever piece you want to isolate and say, oh wow, it's not actually the whole thing, it's this one small thing. Well, yeah, I mean, it's all the small thing. Really? Power off? Is that what you're gonna do? You're gonna give me a warning the battery's low? You fucking dumb cunt! headphones just died, so you're going back to shitty microphone quality. I'll just keep yapping, I guess. Hopefully the headphones start by the time you speak again. So you still hear me, right?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so the raspberry has a physical substrate. Everything else is a physical substrate. Getting shot in the head as a physical substrate. Getting your stomach ripped out as a physical substrate. Getting your spine destroyed with crystal spikes ripping through them, destroying your nerve endings and disabling your body permanently. That as a physical substrate. All of these are physical phenomena you can trace down. You could, on a computer, run just that particular series of quantum particles and isolate one particular frame of your existence and just play that. You think that moment of experiencing that pain and that circumstance required all of the universe and context and time necessary to it up to that point? You think you are you because you required all of these other little things. But if you could isolate only the quantum particles which made up that particular moment and play them in isolation, then you could still achieve the same experience because the experience is not actually dependent on all of the other little things which made it. It is not isolated. It is just the physical phenomenon which makes it up. That's all it is. It's not separate. It's not its own thing. It has no properties of its own. It only has the properties bestowed upon it by its physical substrate, right? And so, whenever you understand that in the same way, chocolate has a taste because you can see the chemical and quantum patterns which make up chocolate that will give it its signature taste. In the same way, your sadness, your anger, they have neurological correlates. And they are also just physical phenomena. And that leads you to step 4. Leads a acythrial to step 4, right? Makes a acythrial say, I am not me. How silly was that of a thought to have? For there to be a me, there would need to be an anything else which is not me, which is not true. Because you see, if I'm only physical phenomena, then all other physical phenomena are the exact same thing. I don't exist. I'm not real. There is no self. There is nothing at the bottom. Anything which says it's me is just a voice which is created by the physical phenomena shaping themselves into the pattern of that voice. If you could isolate the neurological factors which went into creating the voice which thinks it's me, then you would still get the same voice. So the voice isn't me. If you can create the voice without everything else that I think of as me. There is no one part that I can take off and say, this is me, because there is no one part that is definably separate from anything else. Everything is made of its physical substrate, including all of the little voices in your head which tell themselves that they're you. So there is no you. You're not real. There is no self. That's step 4. And then finally, he realizes, well, good googly moogly goddamn. It's not that there's no self. It's that there's all self. By the way, huge thing right here. That step 5, all self, nuke that piece of fucking shit step off the map. That was fucking retarded for me to ever call it that. You know what's funny? I remember making this mistake and telling you about this mistake as if it was a leap forward when I was in Florida. I changed will to taste 1 and will to taste 2, which were previously step 1 and 5 on the bottom of the pyramid. I changed them to maximum efficiency principle and all self so that they were more easily understandable to all people.
Yeah.
Dog shit idea. Really dog shit idea. All self is such a shitty proxy for will to taste. I stand by maximum efficiency principle to a degree because it says something more important, like I've said before, the the maximum efficiency principle goes beyond just stating that you should seek the best thought texture, because you could say will to taste says that same thing. And by the way, I'll go more into that in a second. But the big thing about maximum efficiency principle is that it gets there from an entirely non-metaphysical basis, non-religious, non-spiritual, just literally straight up saying, hey, you want the best thought texture, don't you, buddy? Hey, you want the bone, don't you? Hey, you like feeling good, don't you, bud? And it's just starting there, and then that inevitably leads you to the final point. So everyone should be able to get there if, they haven't been domed with a sledgehammer recently. They haven't gotten Freddy Fazbear frontal lobe destroyed with a mallet in the last 5 to 7 days. They should be capable of understanding that. So, with that simple, human, very intuitive understanding, you'll eventually get to the will to taste, which is step 5. And so this is always what I was trying to say with the 5-step framework is the whole point of the 5-step framework is just to connect steps 1 and 5, which is really confusing. Because what the fuck is the point of the middle 3 steps then, dumbass? Why the fuck you got 5 steps if the points of 1 and 2 or 1 and 5, dummy? Just make it 1 and 2. And you can do that, but you're losing a lot of the nuance. And then it's like, well, then you do need the middle steps. But it's like, yeah, you technically do. They do provide necessary context, but they also provide unnecessary detail that takes time to understand, which is not possible in timed situations. If you're about to get killed, if you're in the middle of the woods and you hear a bear. By the way, dude, I give myself fucking bear trauma with my last step 1 experience. I'm not even kidding. I'll be laying in my bed and I'll hear like the doggy door move, and I'll get massive adrenaline dumps, and I think I'm about to get killed by a bear. Like I literally gave myself like bear PTSD from how much I thought about it on my last sub 1 experience. Like, I mean, like what it comes down to is by a certain point in my sub 1 experience, just to move on and feel comfortable, I had to accept not the possibility of a bear coming, but the inevitability of a bear coming. And the fact that dueling a bear was going to be the apex of my trip, whether I liked it or not. And that I had to be ready to duel a bear. Like, that's what my sub 1 experience became, was like, the wasps are a precursor for the bear. Prepare. And like that, what was obviously very fear-inducing at the time, I guess, was so fear-inducing so consistently that like I actually like traumatized my brain in like a hilarious way, where like in the same way like a veteran cannot help associate like fireworks with war, like
Yeah.
I cannot help associate rustling in leaves with a bear to the point where my body physiologically reacts, even though I know that's intellectually retarded. So like that's funny, but
You gotta get that Russian training.
oh, what'd you say?
Tackling bears.
What'd you say?
You should get some of that Russian training and fight some bears.
Some of
Get
that
over that
Russian
fear.
training, fight some bears. You said?
Yeah, like the MMA guys.
Absolutely, I need to go on that Khabib training program. Hey, with my new back discoveries, maybe I could. But maybe I could just connect my hip flexor to my shoulder flexor and toss the
You
bear
just
around like an
practice
infant.
moves on the bear. That's your new partner.
Hold on, I'm connecting my headphones again so I can hear what you're saying. You should be good. Go ahead.
Your new training partner is the bear. If you ever have a new idea, you could do it on the bear.
Yes, exactly. That's what I've needed this whole time. No one wants to be the dummy. What I needed this whole time was just a pet bear. But so with this understanding, so the last one, will to taste. So at last, Larry understands will to taste, and with this last step, he understands. He points it at breathing. So he aims this beam, this Aperion beam. He aims it at breathing, and so to summarize a couple of the things that you were supposed to get from this that I did not clearly outline. First of all, Trevor, do you remember the multiple times when I talked to you about how the framework could be run as a 5-step or a 2-step framework, and that you could cut out the middle 3 steps for speed, or you could integrate the middle 3 steps if you couldn't connect steps 1 and 2. And the point of the middle 3 steps was to be a bridge between steps 1 and 2.
Yeah.
You notice how that maps on directly to the middle of the pyramid now?
Say again.
You notice how that maps on directly to the middle of the pyramid now?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's basically what we did. Where like we separated all of the confusing parts that resulted from it being 5 steps and also 3 steps and also 1 step. Like we took all of that confusion and we just eliminated it by separating it, but by outlining the fact that it's not actually a separation, it's a condensation. Like by pointing out the parts of the pyramid which fold into the other parts of the pyramid, you can visualize the fact that like it isn't you use this or you use this. You can understand that it's like, no, it's just like in the same way you could like zoom out on Earth. You could like I think Leo Gurr is the one who said this, right? Where he was like, you can see the entire Earth from a satellite perspective. But if you can see the entire Earth, you're seeing so much that you won't be able to make out detail. So if you could zoom in, if you could only see one part of the Earth, then you may be able to see, hey, look, there's people, there's a city, there's a tower, there's cars down there. There's a jungle, there's monkeys, there's tigers, there's this kind of plant life. Look, mushrooms grow on the canopy floor, right? You may be able to make those understandings by seeing it from our teeny tiny limited perspective, but you can't see everything else. So you could say our perspective is small and limited. But then by that same metric, you could also say the satellite's perspective is also limited. Because of its massive scope, it's incapable of perceiving the detail. And that's exactly what's going on here, where the different layers of the pyramid are basically like saying, here is the most detailed layer, and then here is the most quick layer. And different ones can be used in different situations, but they're not different. It's not that you're using different tools for different situations. It's that you're just highlighting different aspects of the same tool for different uses. It's like a monkey wrench, or not a monkey wrench, a Swiss Army knife. Like, it's all part of the Swiss Army knife. It's not different things. It's all the same Swiss Army knife. You just, in different situations, there are going to be different pieces of the Swiss Army knife that are more useful, more likely for you to focus on. Different sets of tools. Something like that. I don't know. It's not a perfect analogy because you're still technically a difference like the knife and the screwdriver and Swiss Army knife, but you kind of get the point. So anyways, there's also the black hole, white hole, wormhole being the middle layer of the pyramid. That's another thing that's really huge. The whole point of black hole, white hole, wormhole was to highlight well, first of all, one of the biggest things that is good about separating Zix, Azix, and Exazix from steps 2, 3, and 4 or the bottom middle 3 steps. The big thing about separating Zix, Azix, and Exazix from those steps and moving them up to the middle of the pyramid is you no longer have the middle 3 steps in the first layer bogged down by the unnecessary context of Zix, Azix, and Exazix. Those concepts more perfectly express the black hole, white hole, wormhole anyways. So it's better that you just move them up and combine them into each other. Keep them as quote-unquote separate, even though they're... You can see that Zix, Azix, and Exazix is actually expressing steps 1 and 2 combined, then step 3, and then steps 4 and 5 combined. It's not that it's showing something else. It's just showing a more zoomed out version of the first thing. And then you look at the top of the pyramid and you see the same thing, where it's just a more zoomed out version of that. You know what I mean? You can imagine that, like, the bottom of the pyramid is like the human perspective, and then like the middle of the pyramid is like the satellite perspective, and then like the top of the pyramid is like the like universe maps that we're creating now. They're like literally trying to show the entire conceivable universe. You're going to get absolutely no detail about what Earth looks like. You're not even going to be able to see Earth on the map, but technically it's in there. So that is what the pyramid represents now. As far as back to the actual practical applications of this, acythrials breathing, the reason I had to figure out what that felt like, what that looked like, what his experience of that was, and think about how cool it is now, Trevor, that the creature who highlights the fact that breathing is an integral part of frameworks is a creature who sees, hears, tastes, smells, speaks, and thinks through breathing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That is fucking beautiful. I didn't even do that on purpose, Trevor. That's just how, like, that's just how this story, that's like
Was it through breathing or was it through the grinding of the teeth?
Well, no, but Trevor, think about it. The grinding of the teeth, the grinding of the teeth only creates a vibration. It's the exhale of the hot air through the vibration of the teeth, which it's like a shout, like a Skyrim shout, which pushes that outward. So in the same way, like, you could say, doesn't a bat's click come from its throat? Like, yes, but then that click is propagated through the screech. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The screech, the exhale, the forcing outwards is the equivalent of I mean, actually, this is the much better equivalent. Think about me and you speaking right now. Like, Trevor, couldn't you say that like this is just breathing? Like, yeah, you could, but I mean, like, it's also talking. Same thing for him,
Yeah.
where like everything is like that, where it's technically just breathing, but also it serves all of these other functions. And so, like, for him, obviously it would be breathing. Every single breath he takes is like this huge, deep breath, which is meaningful to every other facet of his existence. Where he aims that breath is literally dependent on what he experiences, what he sees, what he's capable of doing, what he's saying, who he's saying it to, what he's hearing. Like it's super important. All of his breaths are super important. And like whenever you come down to it, like that can help us realize, and it has helped me realize, it's like my breathing is the same. Like my breathing, it's how I speak. You know what I mean? It's how air is brought into my lungs. It's how it's propagated through my blood to my brain. Like you think of it, it's just like, but it's like it's an insanely complex, beautiful, intricate thing. And obviously, like we've realized that before, but this just really highlights that from the way that sci-fi has always been so good at, where it highlights it from such a real perspective, like a borderline scientific perspective of like it just gets you to go like, holy shit, I am a monkey. Not like a Buddhist sense of like, listen, you are merely a monkey, or like a philosophical sense of like, listen here, retard, look, you're just a monkey, but like a sci-fi sense of like, holy shit, I'm a fucking monkey. You know what I mean? Like it's cool and bizarre and strange and beautiful. More like an acid
A
type.
featherless biped, as Plato put it.
Yeah, precisely a featherless biped. You can truly feel the nature of being a featherless biped, being the fucking chicken Socrates plucked. Not Socrates. Who was it? Anaximander. Which one was that? Parmenides, the
No,
crazy
that
guy.
was
What's his name?
Socrates.
It was Socrates. Oh, I thought that was the crazy guy who talked shit to Alexander the Great.
No,
Left
yeah,
that
no, no,
wrong.
yeah, you're right. It was it was yeah,
Diogenes, right? Diogenes.
Diogenes, I believe.
You betcha. You know where I didn't learn that from was philosophy class. But so anyways, I guess maybe if I paid attention to philosophy class, I would have remembered it quick. But anyways, well, but I guess really that is what that is another point to me in the end. I would say is that the point of learning philosophy is not to learn the name of Diogenes. It's to learn the fact that of what it's to learn the point of what Diogenes was saying. It's
Yeah.
not to learn that Diogenes was the man in the year 1363 who plucked the chicken and brought it to Plato. That's not what you're supposed to learn to fucking pass the test. You fucking filthy goddamn pig idiots. You fucking actual cardboard cutout hive mind fuckheads. You incapable of thinking, fucking slaughter arranging, retarded, ignorantly selfish, poor shepherds leading us to a slaughter that you're leading your own children into, morons. It didn't exactly make sense phonetically, but you hopefully could ascertain the point that school is this butchery of life that we force upon ourselves to pass quizzes that have nothing to do with the point, that have nothing to do with the actual practical application. The point of learning that he said that is to understand that actually man isn't just a featherless biped, that isn't actually an accurate description, and that we're much more complex than that description. But what you learn instead is that, you know, at this place and at this time, he said this to this person. That's what you learn instead.
Yeah.
Retards. But anyways, breathing. He breathed. Everything he experiences with breathing. He aims the Aperion beam at breathing. Okay, so Aperion beam is just any sideways line. Code daemon is just any up the middle line. There can only be one up the middle line, so it's the up the middle line, but you know. Do you get what I mean by that? You remember me drawing that? Where it's like
Yeah,
all
the
the
line
left
down
and
the
right.
middle.
Yeah, the lines left and right were Aperion beam, and the line up and down was code daemon. And what that means is the Aperion beam, and this is why the more complex version of that, the one that I run in my head, is Aperion beam code daemon, which looks like go scroll up to the painting on the paper plate.
Yeah,
See
see?
it? So uh the mixture of the blue and cyan and the orange and purple, those two hybrid. So you see, there's only two hybrids.
Yeah.
Those two, you see that? So those two hybrids, those make up a Aperion beam. And so the question is like, that's retarded. How does a Aperion beam make up both the lines sideways and then also somehow those two dots forging into the middle, like what does that mean? Like, actually, what does that mean? Like, how do those two concepts relate? And this is very hard to explain, but this is like the reason I keep drawing it out like this, and I think this is the insights that I'm trying to explain whenever I do this, is the hybrid blue and the hybrid, I'm going to call that maroon, because if you squint your eyes, you can almost see how that is a maroon color, and that is the color orange or purple are supposed to make, even though that looks more just like orange in the middle and purple on the outside. If you squint, you can kind of see how it is a maroon. So you've got the blue hybrid and the maroon hybrid. I think the blue hybrid represents the personal will. Okay, so this is something that I was thinking about a lot before my sub 1 experience, and this was something that was very crucial to all of my discoveries recently, is the understanding of the black hole, or the personal will, being at war with the greater will. Do you remember me talking about this like 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure you remember me talking about long before that. This was the same thing I was talking about in Nana and Papaw's church parking lot a year ago, where it's the concept that there's your will, there is all the stuff between, so matter, and then there's God's will. So like your will is like this, I said to my mother, this ties into, these are two, do you see, do you know how you're back whenever everything you say ties into each other so much that you can go on an insane rambling rant, and yet somehow it's all about the same thing. You can talk about 90 million different things, and yet it's all somehow the same thing. I was talking to my mother earlier today about the issue that pervades our entire culture is like a retarded person who wants a lollipop. It's not even that they're malicious. Like, you can think of it as greed. You can think of it as, man, our whole society is destroying itself because we want money. But it's like, it's beyond that. It's not some cold, calculated, malicious greed. It's a disgusting, piggish, ignorant, hedonist, self-destructive, self-hating, whatever the word flagration is, whatever the word for like spanking yourself, like harming yourself. The Christians did it where they'd like whip themselves and whatever. I remember like from Monty Python, it starts, you see people walking around hitting themselves with wooden boards. No, it's not masochist. There's a word for it. It's like flagration or whatever. It's a word that specifically means like punishing yourself to cleanse yourself. Like Christians used to do it as like a religious practice where they would whip themselves for their sins. Hold on. It's I would try and find it too. It's what I look up is word that means intentional self-harm. I'm gonna give a different way to say that. Yeah, self-flagellation. That's the word I'm looking for. Self-flagellation. That is exactly that's exactly what our society is. It's like someone who's like too. You can't even blame them. Like that's how that's why it's so disgusting. It's like I could respect. It's like Jesus. I could at least respect it if there was a global cabal, a giant black hat government, new world order that's trying to take everything over. Jesus, at least then you could be like, hey, they're pulling it off. At least you can respect those guys. You know what I mean? It's working. But it's not even like that. It's not even like there's some competent cabal behind the scenes, some greater will that's being orchestrated behind the scenes. It's not like that. It's like it's just all piggish, short-sighted retardation. And like I said, like a retard after a lollipop, literally. Like it's pitiable. It's nasty. It's like whenever it's like I'm just gonna keep repeating myself, I guess, but it's like watching a retarded child bang their head off a brick wall because they can't get a lollipop. It's like you can try to explain to them, like, you're fucking beating your head off a brick wall over a lollipop. That's not worth it. The feeling of your head smashing into bricks, your skull colliding into fucking cement, is not worth that minute amount of sugar. Dummy. You destroying your relationships with your family and destroying the small amount of functioning neurons that are left in your head over this is a horrific calculation for your future. But obviously, they're retarded. You can't explain it to them. That's the whole point. And that's what our society's like. It's like that. It's just like that. Like, you can so clearly say to them, like, what are you doing? Stop that. And they'll go, no, I want it so bad, please, no. And the more that you try and tell them, it's like, buddy, calm down. Just don't do that. Hey, no more head off the wall. No bouncy. They'll just get more angry and more whiny and more mad until you just give them what they want, which is self-destruction. They just want to become a big, fat, opulent moron. Fatter and greasier and more incapable of executing their will. Disgusting, pitiful excuses for the will to taste. And that is like the issue with school. That's the issue with the doctors. It's like they're not even the Walmart managers. They're not even greedy in a competent way. It's like, holy fucking shit, if you got out a whip and fucking slapped me with it and made me work, I would respect you more than by you fucking robbing me of my time, my life, and then wasting it for your own purposes. You're not even making yourself money with my time.
They don't even know what they're doing.
Moron. Yeah, you're not even, like, using me. It's like in a Marxian sense, like, it's like you're not even, like, using me for your slave labor. It's like,
Yeah,
it's
there's no
worse than that.
exploitation here.
You're
We
so
solved it.
stupid, you can't even exploit me. Yeah, it's like I get all the downsides of exploitation and you get none of the upsides, which makes it so much more frustrating because it's like, no one's winning, you idiot! You're destroying everything. You're destroying yourself, you're destroying me, you're destroying your children's life, you're breaking everything, and you're too stupid to even have me communicate it to you. Oh, God. Pitiful. And that ties into what I was just saying with the framework, because if you understand that the blue dots, which is your will, is the exact same as the maroon dots, or I should say dot. The blue dot is the same as the maroon dot because it's one will. Your will is only the will to taste. You understand? They're not different. They're the same. That's what Aperion beam. You should have multiple drawings above the painting. I guess scroll above the painting real quick and go to yeah, right above it. You'll see the drawings. So you see that I have acid baptism is the sides of the pyramid, and Code Daemon's the middle. And then right above that, you have the same thing, but drawn from a different perspective. So this was actually, whenever I first realized it, this drawing helped me realize it. You see it right under, you see me, the text where I say it. I said, that second image just made me have a breakthrough. I drew it without knowing what it meant, but that's very interesting. So that's cool. You can actually literally see the moment I realized the thing, which just got me where I am right now. What I realized in drawing this is, acid baptism, what it's trying to highlight isn't sideways connection. It's not trying to highlight that all 5 dots are the same and that all 3 dots are the same and that the 1 dot is the same. That's not what it's trying to highlight. What it's trying to highlight is that your will and God's will are the same will. The fight is one dance. You right? Like this is all recycled talking points. This is all shit you heard me talk about a year ago whenever I was talking about black hole, white hole, wormhole, because it's literally the same thing. Same thing with Twin Peaks. You heard me talking about that about 3 months ago, and then about 6 months ago before that, also the same framework. It's the concept that there's your will, which is saying, I want a lollipop, and then there's God's will, which is saying, I want everything. I want every single kind of lollipop. I want the lollipops that are forged from hellfires. I want the lollipops that are forged from heavens collapsing in upon their own weight to form into wormholes. I want the taste of water, every kind of water, water in plastic bottles, water in glass cups, water that is condensed upon itself so much that it becomes the bottom of the ocean, water that's condensed upon itself so much that it becomes ice 7, water that's frozen. I want every single kind of water. And I don't care what the cost is because I need to know what the best kind of water is. In the same way, humans are like, well, it's worth it to crush a couple ants to build a highway. To God, it's worth it to create a couple hells to find a couple heavens. He blindly seeks the best thought textures. And obviously, there will be horrific thought textures found along the way, in the same way that if you eat an entire tin of raspberries, you're bound to get a rotten one. You're bound to get a sour one. You're bound to get one that tastes like shit, just based on statistical odds. But your goal isn't to get the shitty one. Your goal is to eat the one that tastes the best. But to find the one that tastes the best, you have to eat them all, because you don't know what they taste like before you eat them. And that's the exact same way God is with thought textures. God is blind. He looks for the best thought texture, but he doesn't know where he's going. He just fucking runs into him. And then he's like, oh, that one's good. Oh, that one's not. Oh, that one was good. And you are just a part of that. And all of your desires, all of your will, all of the individual wants and needs that you have, they're just a symptom of this greater will. And whenever you understand that, your whole life gets better, and it would fix every problem in society, and we could all live happy ever after. It could be the end to all war, and we could all have peace and love each other and celebrate Christmas forever.
Celebrate
If
Christmas
everyone
every
just
day.
realizes, you betcha. If ifs and buts were candy and nuts. But so, anyways, you whenever you realize that your will and God's will are one will, and that like the big part of that realization, the huge part of that, is the thing that I've always said, my classic Ashton quote, which is my take that's a little bit different from everyone else's as far as religion goes, is that Nietzsche is probably the closest one, is that you have to highlight the hells. You have to. It's not all honky-dory. You can't go around talking about the cessation of suffering and not acknowledge the fact that misery is inescapable. Like, you just can't do it. It's retarded. It's a self-defeating process. You need to acknowledge the fact that misery is inescapable to escape the misery. Because whenever you are not miserable, it isn't because you are no longer miserable. It's because you no longer perceive the misery as miserable, and you are capable of perceiving misery as beautiful, and therefore you are no longer miserable. So the misery is still there. The feelings, the weight, the terror, the gnashing, the nagging, the inability to rest, the lack of silence, the need to move and change, it's all still there. That never goes away. This is not supposed to go away. That's fine. You just have to understand and integrate that into your continual evolution towards the best version of it. The thing, the voice which says everything is imperfect never goes away. You just have to realize that that is a symptom of being able to work towards perfection, and that in itself is perfect. Like the voice which is always telling you this is not perfect, it never stops saying that. The goal is not to get it to stop saying that. The goal is to realize that the voice which is telling you that everything is not perfect is also a symptom of the greater perfection. And that is what acid baptism, that is what black hole wormhole, that is what Twin Peaks, that is what the War of Wills, that is what small will to taste and great will to taste, that is what all of those different frameworks I've created are talking about. They're all saying the exact same thing, which is your will and all of the things about your will which are not God's will are a symptom of God's will. Individuality is not something to be escaped, but something to be interpreted as inseparable. That's so important and so forgettable and so seemingly obvious that it is the number one trap that will suck months away from you. God, you gotta be so careful about that bitch. Because the second that you don't get that, the second that you don't understand acid baptism, you get chase. The second that you don't understand that the misery is God, well, then guess what you get? You go, oh no, I'm miserable. Oh no, I need to get to God. I need to feel good. Well, then now guess what? Now you've created the illusion of duality. You've created the
You've like dug your
understanding
own hole.
that, yeah, you're already wrong. Like I said to Jacques, literally word for word, you're already wrong. You failed already. The entire concept that you were ever separate from God and that God is something to get to somewhere else, a place that you must reach towards, means that he's too far away. By reaching for that, you're going to fall out of a window and land 3 months later until you finally slam into the fucking ground and realize, oh shit, I shouldn't have reached. It was already there. You know what I mean? I already had it. There was no point in falling in a fucking window, endlessly chasing it, endlessly forcing myself to seek it. When in reality, all that it is the lack of seeking. If I was to just be comfortable in my room, if I was to just enjoy what it was like to be in that room, then I would have never needed to have escaped in the first place. And all of the freedom that I got from the escape could have been managed by understanding that I was already free in the limited amount of space. That my freedom is not defined by my limited amount of space. My freedom is not defined by my individuality. I am not my individuality. My individuality is actually a symptom of my greater freedom. And that is more profound than sadly most people will be able to handle. But you know, put that in the crock pot and stew on it for a few days. It'll just keep getting tastier and tastier. That one will. You got your will and God will, and every single bit of your will is God's will. So you don't shut it up. You don't tell it to not be miserable. You don't tell it to not be separate. You embrace the separateness as unity. That is the lesson of acid baptism. Code Daemon gets to the same exact spot through an entirely different method. Code Daemon says, watch your breathing. Is your breathing a feeling? Yeah. Okay. Well, is that feeling created by physical stimuli? Is that feeling of breathing? Is that experience that you call what it feels like to breathe? Is that necessary on the bones that make up and surround your lungs? Is that necessary on the blood which pumps that oxygen to fuel your brain, to keep your lungs moving, to keep the oxygen flowing? Like, is that, are those lungs not necessarily dependent upon the physical substrate, the physical phenomena which create that experience in the first place? The answer obviously being yes. It is dependent on that. And then you go, well, if my breath is an experience, and the feeling right now that I'm feeling of my breath being an experience is just a matter of a physical substrate, then aren't the thoughts that are thinking about the breathing being a physical substrate just a physical substrate? Meaning that really the thing thinking that it's me isn't actually me. It's just another illusion created by specific patterns of physical phenomena, rendering individuality a farce, another set of physical phenomena that can be placed in the right order to achieve a goal. If in the same way my lungs extracting or expanding and contracting are just a symptom, a necessary consequence of my biology, so are my thoughts. And if that's true, then I shouldn't be thinking of my thoughts as inescapable parts of myself, but as merely other levers, other facets by which I can achieve the best thought textures. If everything which is thinking about being me is the same thing as the feeling of breathing, then really I need to just be arranging both of those in the best possible order to achieve the best thought texture. In the same way that maybe the best type of breathing for my current situation is deep, slow breathing to calm myself down, or maybe it's rapid, consistent breathing to regain cardio in an MMA fight. Both of those are breathing. Both of those are a specific physical interaction, and both of those create different thought textures, which can be utilized in different situations. And if that's true, then everything which is me and everything that I consider myself would also need to be aligned in the same way. And if I'm in a fight, then really I shouldn't be thinking about a self that's controlling the way the lungs breathe. I should be thinking about the self in the same way that I think about the lungs breathing, as just another avenue of improvement, another potential optimization. And by this metric, if Christianity, if believing in a Christian God can make me more confident and more capable in an MMA match, then by all means, I should believe in Christianity for that period of time, because that is not a betrayal of my inner values. That is not believing in a lie. That is not forcing myself to believe, to pretend to believe something which I do not truly believe, because how would I truly believe anything? What is truth? Truth to who? I'm betraying what values? The values of what person? What will I regret later? Who will regret what later? None of those are real. None of those things are true, because by what person would they be true to? If there is no you, then there can't be any of those consequences. And so you should believe in whatever gets the job done. You should become framework ooze, right? You should become completely and totally malleable to warp and mold to whatever the situation requires, whatever shape best accomplishes the given task. And whenever you get that truly, whenever you truly focus on your breathing and you truly understand every single expansion and contraction, every single little stretching of flesh around my lungs, the feeling of my titties sagging atop and being risen and fallen is obviously not the way to say that, being moved upwards and downwards in the same way that I can feel it in my shoulder muscles, in the same way that I can feel it when I stop breathing. I can feel it when I breathe more deeply. I can feel those change the states of my consciousness. I can feel those change my thought textures. I think of breathing as an entirely biological phenomenon that has no factor on my mood or my thoughts, because I am me. I'm an entirely dependent person with individual thoughts. But then you understand that by focusing on your breathing, you can change your behavior. You can change the voice in your head and the things that it says, because there is no you. There is no intellectually consistent person across situations. If you focus on deep breathing in an argument with your mother, then you may end up being significantly calmer and expressing your ideas in a way that you would perhaps not even identify with yourself. But that doesn't matter, because you are getting the job which needs to be done better in a better way. I don't know how exactly you would actually finish that grammatically, but the point is whenever you realize that, then you understand that if drinking another 3 cups of water in a day can decrease my frustration, and that could make the difference in an argument with my girlfriend that was the difference between our relationship, which is the difference in my life, then you're saying that drinking 3 cups of water could have changed the entire trajectory of my existence? I could look into a potential future, and the difference between the one where I have kids and a long-lasting marriage with this woman and the one where we break up and move away and don't know each other, and I, get on heroin or, become a neuroscientist and have a better life, whichever one, the difference in that much of my trajectory was decided on 3 cups of water. And I think I'm myself? Am I stupid? What is myself then? If my actions are that dependent on things as innocuous as breathing and cups of water, then what the fuck am I? How the fuck am I anything? I'm not anything. I'm just the things that make the thing which thinks it's me. And by that measure,
I'm not my
then
own
me is
thing.
just...
I'm an extension of what is around me.
Yeah, exactly. And in the same way that I understand that drinking 3 cups of water may help me achieve a task, I can understand that believing Christianity can help me achieve a task. Believing I can get something done, even when maybe my ego would say, "No, you can't get it done," might help me get it done. Or believing I can't get something done that my ego would tell me I could get done might be helpful. Like you never know, but your goal should never be to align with the self, because the self is for retards. Tricks are for kids, and the self is for retards. It's not useful ever. You can create miniature selves, but to ever say that this is me across all time, it's like, well, yeah, what happens when I start pointing out the inaccuracies? What happens when I start pointing out how unintellectually consistent you are? And that illusion shatters, which it inevitably will. And you should already be working on shattering it now if you're at all competent. Because it's pretty obvious that it is not. It is not real in any meaningful capacity from any discipline. You look at neuroscience, you look at philosophy, you look at psychology, you look at quantum physics, you look at evolution, you look at regular physics, you look at mathematics, you look at I don't know, just go look at a fucking anthill or like a leaf or a wall or close your eyes even. I don't know. It's pretty much that obvious. Just do anything at all with your eyes or go blind. Rip your eyes in your head. You'll still see it. Still be there. It's that obvious. And yet also, because it is that obvious, it is the exact kind of thing which you omit in your thought process. You think that it is so implied that you do not integrate it for months and you waste so much time. Oh, the fun of being a silly little monkey. So anyways, so yeah, you must realize the limitations of your monkey form are merely another, just another flavor, baby. Just another ingredient. If you gotta cook with piss, then hey, you better add a lot of garlic to cover it up, baby.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what it is. It's like you got what you're working with, and the only thing you can do is put it in the best possible version. And the more you identify with any individual ingredients, the more you say this is a garlic dish, the more likely it is to be dog shit because you put way too much garlic. It needs to. It can't be a dish about one thing. It can't be focused on one ingredient. You can't say one ingredient is the dish because you'll ruin your dish. You need to make the ingredients a perfect blend of each other that achieves the best flavor in the end, and that's exactly what life is.
And also, it's kind of
you have
like
to view.
he's created all this, and it's like, if you want the positive life, if you want the positive, you want the heavens, then to do that, you have to rearrange the hells to get that. And it's like, but you can't just start out with heaven. You gotta start out with the hells, and it's like, but I'm in the hells, and I want to get to heaven. It's like, all right, well then get to work.
So this is something I'm still working on. This is a super interesting concept. I was thinking that in the story, I want to write synchronicities in as acythrial scientists are capable of making code manipulations, but they're only capable of making code manipulations from the Big Bang of each universe. And obviously, different universes have different Big Bangs. I'm not saying we're sticking to quantum physics or whatever. Different universes would have different beginning points that are entirely different from the Big Bang, but each one would have a quote unquote Big Bang, which would be just the point at which conceivable time begins in each given universe. At each of those given Big Bangs, you can make changes to the code. But that's it. In other words, in other words, imagine a acythrial scientists are looking at me and you right now, right, Trevor? Like they're watching this play out on a monitor, and then they think, well, I want to make Trevor's head explode, and they try and do that, and they try and code that in. Well, the code's just gonna fail. It's just gonna crash every time. It's never gonna even load up. To make your head explode in our reality, what they'd have to do is they would have to change the specific set of like neutrinos within the first second of the Big Bang in such a way that would butterfly effect out into your head exploding now. So it's like you would need to make such an unbelievably complex simulation to be able to find out what you'd need to move to get to that point. You know what I mean? Like it would be like you would have to simulate all the potential ways every single particle in the universe could move to be able to move this one individual microparticle like one super duper centimeter, whatever the smallest version of a centimeter is, beyond all of the I just blanked on all the smaller versions of
The
centimeters.
Planck scale.
Yeah, beyond the fucking or Planck scale. Or I guess would be the Planck scale. There is no beyond the Planck scale, but yeah, exactly. Where it's just like the smallest possible unit, the sand, as Jacques would say, or the code, as I would say. You know what's funny? Ryan used sand, didn't he?
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. He did.
That's funny. But anyways, so any clue what I was saying before that? This is how you can tell I'm tired. I'm on the perkies and they can't even make me remember. We got the sand, which is the code, which is the optimization, self-optimization. You said something. We were talking about synchronicities, coding from the beginning of the Big Bang. I think that says something really interesting metaphysically. I think that what that's saying is that God is capable of making synchronicities. But God is only capable of making synchronicities that make sense. He's only capable of working within the laws of physics.
Yeah.
And so you can't expect God to just like part the Red Sea. You can't expect God to move mountains. He's not. He can't do that. God
Or
is
like the
not
average
separate.
idea of like the YouTube videos is like manifest $1 million tomorrow night.
Yeah, or literally actually any of them. Like any of the versions of manifestation. What I've realized lately, and this is definitely true, I know it's true because my synchronicities have ramped up 10 times, is you can't believe in synchronicities. You can't, more than that, you can believe in them. You can know that they're real, but you cannot control them. And you cannot even imagine that you can control them. That's retarded. It's not even close to possible. It's not, all that you can do is set yourself up in a way where God could potentially interact. So in other words, God can only make your YouTube channel explode if you fucking make a video. God can only make you the UFC champion if you fucking train. Like God can only do these things if you set yourself up to do them. Because like you cannot look at God as the exemption of physics. It's not that God is bypassing physics to do this. It's that God is working within physics to accomplish this.
Yeah, he's like using you as the computer, and you need to make sure you or your models are running right to do that.
Yeah, it's so complex because it's kind of beyond even what you just said, because that can lead to a couple bad outcomes. What you just said is true. And this is like everything. What you said and what you meant when you said it is probably 100% true. But with words, the different definitions you can lead you to different plot holes, different traps. The issue, kind of with what you just said, the potential issue is if you think of it as you needing to put yourself in the right state to achieve synchronicities, then you can become dependent on them, which is what I started doing. Where I thought like, it's not that I can control synchronicities. It's that God can control synchronicities, but I align with God, so synchronicities will work for me. But that's not how it works. No. You don't understand. God, first of all, God would smash you like a fucking pumpkin hurled out of a universe-sized trebuchet powered by a black hole. Like, he would toss you across galaxies just to turn into Planck scale particles when smattering across and obliterating a planet. Like, if it helped anything towards his cause. If eviscerating you in hellfire for eternity made one thought texture of his better, he would do it instantly. God does not give a fuck about you. You are very lucky that God technically is you. So he is invested in your thought textures because he experiences them. But also, yet again, if God can improve the global thought textures through your destruction, God doesn't view you as you. So he doesn't care about executing your will. Your will is just his will. So your will is just a part of his will, and he is more than happy to sacrifice that one menial piece of his will for the greater will. And so whenever you understand that it's like, it's not that you can align with synchronicities, because you can't align with them. All you can do is ride the wave. Like, this is what I was saying to Jacques the other day, where it was like, stop trying to build a boat, retard. Just ride the current. Whenever you go under the waves, I forget how exactly I said it, but it was like, whenever you go under the waves, whirlpools become wormholes, and riptides become catapults, or something like that, which is a really beautiful way of saying it. However I said it, I think a really beautiful way of saying, whenever you go underneath the noise, it can just teleport you to the bottom of the Mariana Trench, like absolute silence and stillness, and obviously all the nature of God, where you're in quote unquote bare awareness or whatever. But yeah, that whenever you go underneath the waves, whenever you stop trying to build a boat, whenever you stop trying to control synchronicities, whenever you stop saying, if I just arrange the wooden planks in the right way, then I swear to God I can. Oh look, I know, I swear I can survive the the flood. No, I pinky promise. I'll be able to ride the wave if I just put the planks in this order. No, one more nail, one more plank. I'm telling you. Then you're fucked. You're retarded, and the synchronicities will fuck you up, and they'll beat your ass. They'll not just not work for you. They'll beat your fucking ass every chance they'll get. But if you stop trying to build a boat and you just go under the waves and you just let the riptides, the whirlpools carry you, you let them move you, you flow with them. If instead of trying to control the synchronicities, if instead of trying to build a boat to work against the flow of synchronicities, and instead of trying to instead of trying to build something to use the synchronicities, you just let them do their thing and you just kind of follow them to the best of your ability as much as you understand where they're going, then you'll have a much better time. If you stop trying to fight the direction the waves are going and you just follow it, without trying to alter it in any way, then that's the only way synchronicities will ever work for you. So this is kind of what I was always saying. No, this is what I was always saying. Whenever I was saying synchronicities will only work for you when you don't believe in them. And it's also the same thing I was saying whenever I said the only way to have good synchronicities is to laugh at bad ones. Because the only way to get good synchronicities is by viewing bad synchronicities as hilarious and beautiful, because you're optimizing for the best thought texture. You're trying to appreciate the bad synchronicities in the way that tastes the best. And only by always aiming towards the best flavor can synchronicities align with you. So that's a whole thing. I probably said it too confusingly for most people. But if you're one of those philosophy tards, then you probably got what I'm saying. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool if you get it. The girls that get it, and the girls that don't.
Big if
The
true.
many such cases. I love that quote from Trump. That's one of my favorite Trump quotes. So that's a very interesting synchronicity framework. I think that's the best synchronicity framework I've ever gotten to date. It's definitely the one that works the best. My synchronicities have ramped up like crazy. And my future prediction, my like intuition, all of it is just tenfold by just going, I'm not going to ever try and control these ever again. In fact, I'm not even going to like believe they're real. I'm just going to like follow wherever they're going. Just like if it seems like a finger's pointing over there, then fuck it, I'll walk over there. Maybe I'm wrong, that's fine. But it'll at least appreciate the effort of me walking where I thought it was pointing. As long as I'm trying to follow the waves, then they'll help you find the riptide.
Yeah.
It's your job to focus on swimming with the waves instead of against them.
And even if you fail, you're
That's
still
all
like
you can do.
training your intuition.
Yeah. You just can't channel the waves. You can't become separate from the waves. You can't build a boat on top of the waves. You can't do any of that. You just have to say, fuck it. Waves may be a little painful. I may drown a little bit. May not be able to breathe very often, but boat sure doesn't seem to be working. So I'll let this carry me wherever it takes me, and I'll enjoy it while I can. And so that's synchronicities. How that ties back. Dude, actually think about the web of things we've talked about. Oh, you're not recording, are you?
No, I am.
Good. We'll see how this one fails. So, acid baptism. Going back to that, acid baptism is the sides of the pyramid, and specifically so the reason I say, now scroll back down to the painting. The reason I say it's the blue dot and the magenta, or I'm sorry, the blue and the maroon. Although I guess you could say it's magenta as well. Whatever, magenta, maroon, whatever the fuck. Point is, they're both wills, right? The blue dot is the blue hybrid is you. The maroon magenta hybrid is God. They're both wills. And then up the middle, you have frameworks, ASICs, and then God. And so you'll notice on the painting, that's the only one which stays the same color up until the top. It doesn't mix with anything. It doesn't change at all. The reason for that is because frameworks and ASICs are the same thing. They're not different. The difference in the story would be the lizard does not have any way of seeing God or God's nature or any other realities or anything other than the same way me and you see God, which is just like through subjective intuition and relying on all the other avenues of attempting to achieve clear thought. just sort of try and form a coherent pattern. He's doing the same thing as us, where it's like he's just kind of capable of guessing, but like you can tell which guesses lead to better predictions, and that's how you isolate what is correct and what is not. And so to Larry, frameworks are our first idea of frameworks, where frameworks would be like Donald Trump is a framework, and everyone sees the same Donald Trump. But to some people, that might elicit a religious happiness, a divine serenity. To others, it may evoke a unquenchable hatred, a desire to maim. Those are both reactions resulting from the same physical framework. It's the same physical thing. It's the same thing, the same real thing. It's just different reactions can occur from the same real thing, and that's frameworks, right? That was always our definition of frameworks. And then you move up to ASICs, and you understand what is the difference of ASICs? Well, it's code. You understand how acythrial understands it. Acythrial understands that every single individual person and every single individual entity and will and everything is just a manifestation, a representation of this code, this fundamental mathematics. And code isn't exactly the right way to put it, but it does work, because technically acythrial doesn't see it as code. Acythrial sees it as Acythrial sees the code as like a I guess, like, is a chart the thing in itself? No. It's a chart is a tool to represent something. So if you have a chart which says the deer populations are declining in eastern Kentucky, and it shows clearly over time that the deer population has declined year after year after year, is that the real thing? No, not really. But like, also, it is speaking to the real thing. Like, even though it's not technically the real thing, like it is. Are you still there?
Yeah.
You're lagging for some reason. Okay, it just came back. Weird. Speak again.
Hello, hello, hello.
Close enough. Anyways, so in the same way, the chart of deer populations is not exactly the thing in itself. It is kind of the thing in itself because it's representing the thing in itself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's
Do you
a
kind of see what I'm
symbol.
saying there? Yeah, it's a symbol for the real thing. So it's true. It's not the real thing. It's not real. It's not true. It's just not exactly the full experience. It's just a tool to understand the full experience. And so that's the exact same thing with the code that the computer utilizes. Because it's not really code. It's not code. It doesn't come out as code. It's not like they find the simulation and then the simulation spits out like fucking JavaScript, right? It's like what happens is the simulation helps them to understand a new layer of mathematics. And that new layer of mathematics can be converted into code. So like the same way we can understand trigonometry, and then because we understand trigonometry, we can model trigonometry with code. That's the exact same thing that's going on here. In the same way, if we get like enough of like the gravity of like different planets understood, then we can make a computer model. We can make with code, we can replicate the important pieces of the way those planets are going to interact with each other in the future. That's the same thing that's happening here, where the code is just a representation of the thing in itself. It's not the thing in itself, actually. So, like, in other words, a Cythriel does not think of things as code. He's not thinking, wow, I'm code right now. Wow, I'm in a big computer. Like, he's not a retard. That's not his takeaway. He understands that, like, it's not a computer. I'm seeing this through a computer and this reality. In other realities, computers are not even close to a thing, as you can see by peering through the computer. In other realities, the concept of a computer is inconceivable and incompatible with the laws of physics. But there are, you know what I mean, something which is almost reminiscent in some bizarre way. In the same way, in a psychedelic experience, you can see like a undulating grid of yellow and black dots changing distances and consistencies and motions so that it moves in a seemingly meaningful way, and you can go, wow, that pattern of yellow and black undulating dots felt a lot like my childhood. That can be like true, but it's where was I going with that? You can actually tell how cooked my brain is. Honestly, if you can feel how cooked my brain is, it's shocking that I've articulated anything articulated. Like my brain is actually an overcooked Wendy's baked potato, like a fucking charred potato skin exterior at a fast food restaurant right
If
now.
I could feel it, even if I put
Ugh.
like my finger up to your forehead, I could feel it running.
Exactly. It would feel like I'm running a fever. My God. But so I was saying undulating dots, childhood experiences, the same thing as code, because code is just a representation of the feeling. Oh, that's what I was saying. Yeah. In his reality, it's looks like a computer code. But in every other reality, even though the same mathematics can explain those other realities, that doesn't mean that like a computer is possible in other realities. Like I guess just look at like two-dimensional reality. Like I don't think we can imagine like we can imagine what life might look like in a two-dimensional reality or a four-dimensional reality. But I don't think you could ever get a computer in a two-dimensional reality functionally, because you would need like the ability to have electricity move in a three-dimensional capacity through circuits and everything else necessary to get to that point. So it's like, even though our mathematics can express other mathematical dimensions, those dimensions may not be capable of expressing the mathematics in the same way. So a two-dimensional reality, even though it is using the same mathematics as a three-dimensional reality, a two-dimensional reality will never be able to perceive the three-dimensional reality. In the same way, our three-dimensional reality, even though it's made up of the same mathematics as a fourth-dimensional reality, we'll never be able to interact with that fourth dimension in any meaningful way until we escape the third dimension. And so the same exact thing's happening here, where Acythrial doesn't look at it as code. He just looks at code as his particular reality's way of interfacing with the underlying material. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's what ASICS is. So ASICS is just like a more objective, scientific, religious version of frameworks. So as you can see, Larry's job is to be me and you from like 2 years ago. Me and you and Trace Hermanos, whenever we were talking about frameworks, facets, and the word that'll get us demonetized. And that is the exact same thing. That's the entire thing Larry's expressing. Like, if you look at it, Larry literally goes maximum efficiency principle. That's from 2 years ago. Thought textures. That's from 2 years ago. Frameworks. That's from 2 years ago. No self. That's from 2 years ago. And then will to taste. That one's more recent, but you could argue that's the same thing as facet. That's also from 2 years ago.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more nuanced, but it's pretty much the same thing. And then, so from that understanding, you get the understanding that, okay, so no self and will to taste are the same thing. So as soon as I understand that no self and will to taste are both true, then I understand that they're not different. And at the same time that I understand that I have and need to align with my maximum efficiency principle, and that thought textures are the goal of the maximum efficiency principle, I understand that those are the same thing, that those both make up six. You now get the next category. So in the same way that frameworks became ASICs, Larry's maximum efficiency principle and thought textures now become Zix. What is a Zix? Well, a Cythrial's understanding of a Zix would be any entity which expresses a will separate from its environment. What would the scientist's explanation be of Zix? The scientist's explanation would be the same thing. They would say, what is a Zix? Well, a Zix is not actually technically differentiable, not technically truly separate from any of the other mathematics that we deal with, any of the other simulations that the computer spits out. A Zix is just a part which we're saying is life because it resembles an experience that we think of as life. It's truly, if you look at it, the wall also has an experience of what it's like to be matter aligned in that particular way, mathematics aligned in that specific pattern. So really, what's the difference between the wall and the mouse, the interdimensional mouse with 16 legs and a Klein bottle for a body, right? Like actually though, what's the difference? Like, they're both an experience. They're both the same, expressed by the same set of principles, the same system. So how are they different? I guess they're not. It's just sort of an arbitrary category, and that's what the scientists decide. That's what that's not even acythrials like super based enlightened perspective. That's just like the inevitable conclusion the scientists come to when trying to decide categories. They literally just say it's just a name. Zix is not a thing. There is no difference between Zix and Azix. A Zix is just the arbitrary distinction that we're going to use so that whenever we say Larry, you understand that Zix, L-A-R-Y, or however we spell it, is a person in the way we think of a person, or a life in the way we think of a life. That's all it means. It's just like like all words, it's just hinting at the underlying reality. It's not actually a true distinction. But like I said, the scientists realize that. And so a cythrial takes it a step farther than understanding just that it is something which demonstrates a will separate from its environment. And he says it isn't something which demonstrates a will separate from its environment. That's a retarded distinction, because nothing demonstrates a will separate from its environment. Really what it is it's just the will. It's just individual wills, and there's no point in even saying the individual wills are separate at all. They're not. They don't even pretend for a second. Don't even pretend with your language as if they are. All it means is a slice of will, and you can just you can pick which, like, you and within one human being you could say that there are multiple wills. You know what I mean? Like Bernardo Kastrup's alter theory, where it's like you can literally have a brain, one biological substrate from our perspective, running multiple people, multiple Zix, multiple wills. So a Cythrial says a Zix is just a will, and that's it. It's just wills. There isn't really any difference between any of the individual wills. They're all wills. All a Zix is a will. Whenever you think of yourself, the part, like all of your experiences take place in a Zix, one set of eyes, one boundary of experience that technically I'm not capable of reading your mind. You're not capable of reading mine. So technically there's a barrier between us. Even though that barrier is arbitrary, technically there is, and that's all that Zix acknowledges. The arbitrary barrier between different wills. That is what Cythrial says. That's what Zix is. So now you understand that Zix just means your will, and you understand that your will is the combination between the maximum efficiency principle and thought textures. And so that is now step 1 of the middle of the pyramid. Step 2 of the middle of the pyramid, we went over its framework. And then step 3 is Xasix. Whenever you combine the understanding that there is no you, and you combine the understanding that there is no separation between you and everything else, then you inevitably get the fact that, well, actually, it's all one greater will. It's all the will to taste, which is the 5th step, obviously, right there. And I don't know how we should do that. I don't know how we should introduce the will to taste. I always thought that was going to be Larry's thing to talk about the will to taste, but now I'm thinking maybe you move that to a Cythrial. I really am. And maybe you actually keep the 5th step of the bottom of the pyramid as no self, and then you just have a Cythrial explain how Zix, Azix, and Xazix is the taste which wills, the individual flavors, and the greater will to taste. Maybe you can have him explain that. Because that is the kind of like schizophrenic shit he would say, where it's like in other words, that shit is so like weird and like dripping with acid still. That concept of like the taste which wills, the flavors, and the greater will to taste, like all that language is so weird and like nasty. I don't know how to explain it other than like the same way that like whenever I think of Larry, and whenever I'm designing his needle teeth piercing through his skin and then closing around his own mouth, I think, ew, that's fucking nasty in such a cool way. That's the same way I think of like the taste which wills, the flavors, and the greater will to taste. It's the same level of like, that's like weirdly disgusting to imagine God as that human and infallible and contorting, like just as incompetently performing biological actions as anything else is. Like, it's all just the same universal crawling towards something greater.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how to explain that exactly, but so do you think so? Do you think we give acythrial the will to taste entirely, and we keep? I think that makes more sense, honestly. I think it makes
What
more
is his
sense.
final step right now?
Well, no. You would keep all of his steps. So, in other words, acythrial steps right now are Zix, Azix, and Xazix. You would keep them as Zix, Azix, and Xazix, but you would just say that he explains that Zix, Azix, and Xazix, as everyone knows, and as the scientists explained, another way to explain Zix, Azix, and Xazix is the will to taste. And he
Or
says those are the same thing. They're expressing the same qualities.
couldn't also Braxis do it?
Yeah, I guess you're right. Braxel you could literally just say that the top dot is the will to taste. I guess that kind of makes the most sense as well. I don't like that as much because I kind of want Braxel to be more of like more of a integrator of knowledge than a purveyor of knowledge himself. But no, I think you're right. I mean, I think that does make the most sense.
Since he was supposed to be the
And
one
the
that
will,
sort of like looked at everything else and wrapped it all up.
but that's not necessarily true. His job wasn't to be the one that looked at everything else and wrapped it all up. His job was more to just, like, in other words, the way I was thinking about it was, it wasn't that Braxel was the one who realized the 3 steps or the 1 step. It was that Acythrial realized the 3 steps were the 1 step. And then Braxel was just the one who now has to talk about it because Acythrial never got to put it into words. So I guess you could say he just poorly puts it into words with will to taste. Kind of makes sense, actually. That seems to make sense. That seems to make perfect sense. For now, that's what we'll have to say we go with. Until come up with something better, which I don't think I will. So that is it. At the very least, our placeholder and most likely our future. So yeah, I mean, there you go. You have Zix, Azix, and Xazix, which is all Zix, Azix, and Xazix are, is the understanding that there is your will, there is God's will, and then there is everything in between, which is the product of the war of wills. So like this is the way I always used to think about that. This is the way that the middle of the pyramid tells you to think about it. Is the only way that there can ever be the experience of sight is if there is the you which hates being separate, the you which longs to be infinite and complete and to have all of your wishes fulfilled and to be everything and to see everything and to taste everything and to not have to deal with problems and inconsistencies and incongruities between what you want and what you have, all of the nasty little details of separation that come with being a subjective self. They are necessary to have sight, because how would God see things? Would God just get a pair of eyes? What does that mean? Get a pair of eyes where? God is everything all at the same time. Would he just manifest as a massive pair of eyes? Like, first of all, he doesn't have the will to be able to achieve that. Second of all, a massive pair of eyes in what context? To look at what? It's meaningless. Eyes are entirely built by our biology, by our evolution, to fit the survival context of living on the planet Earth and experiencing the wavelengths which come from our particular sun because of the mathematical layout of our particular galaxy, resulting from the Big Bang, resulting from the quantum physics that allow that to happen, which resulted from the set of mathematics that were there before the unfolding of time, allowing time to even come into existence in the first place, which were only created by God's will to even express himself as mathematics or anything at all. And so it's like, God can't have eyes. He can't have eyes but you. You have to be God's eyes. If God wants to see, then he has to become separate. He has to create the Big Bang and then let that create light and then let that create life and then let that evolve into a monkey which hates being separate and thinks that being separate is the worst thing ever, just so that he can finally perceive what it's like to look at a wall. And like that's the war, that's the dance. It's like the frameworks, ASICs, the code comes from the harsh battle between God saying, I want to be everything, and then the product of him becoming everything, which is us going, what the fuck? What I want to be everything. Why do I have to be this small little shit? How come you get to be everything? And God just being like tortured by the fact that he is not yet everything. Like it's not fun to be either one of us. It's a war that we wage against each other. And only when realizing that it isn't a war we wage against each other because there is no each other. It's all just a symptom of one thing. That is when the war ceases and the conflict stops, and then you just embrace it. You just embrace the separation and the problems and the misery, and it all just becomes warm and fuzzy, and you just want to hug it and eat it all. And it's all just delicious and wonderful. And it's like
Yeah.
the misery becomes in the same way, like if you were to actually go back and experience what Christmas was like at 7, you probably like didn't even like it that much. Like you were probably just like, man, I fucking hate being around these people. Can I open my presents already? Will you shut the fuck up about your DUI, you dumb bitch? Will you stop talking about politics and let me open this present? Like, just shut up. Oh, really? Socks? You think I wanted socks? I'm 7 years old. You could have gotten me any toy in the goddamn shelf and you got me socks, you stupid cunt. I mean, like, that's probably actually what you thought whenever you were 7 at Christmas, because that's just like that's just what the human mind does. Like it's very rarely actually happy in the moment. And even the times that it is happy, it's fleeting. Um, Even if you do get the gift that you want and that momentarily elates you, in another day you'll be like, or in 5 seconds you'll be like, it didn't come with batteries, or in an hour you'll be like, man, it doesn't shoot as far as I thought, or this makes me really want this gun, or man, I wonder if I can return this. You know what I mean? Just like that's what, or maybe you're even happy with it, but in a month you don't even care about it. Like no matter what, or even the best case scenario, you're happy with it, you consistently use it, and then it just becomes normal. Think about your iPhone. Think about how unbelievably happy you were to get your first iPhone. Think about how unbelievably happy you would be to get an iPhone if you were like 4 years old and had to explain to you and you got it early before anyone else got an iPhone. Think about how unbelievably cool an iPhone is. And now think about how you feel about it in your daily life. You could not give less of a fuck. The only way having an iPhone affects you is the fact that you would be mondo mega pissed off if you didn't have one. You just have like withdrawals like a fucking heroin addict. Like that's all an iPhone does.
Yeah.
Because the nature of the self is to always be unhappy with what it has, no matter how good it is. In the same way, someone living in Africa would just be thinking, if I could just fucking eat at McDonald's, if I could just fucking drive down the road and get a warm hamburger and French fries, and then to us we go, I'm so fucking poor. I stock shelves all goddamn night, and the only thing that I can afford is this greasy shit. Fucking McDonald's French fries and a cheeseburger. This is what our society's come to. This is what humanity. You know what I mean? It's like the same two people could be looking at like, it's just the saying. One man's treasure is another man's trash, or vice versa, however you want to say it. But it's just that you'll never be happy. You'll never be happy if your goal is to be happy. You can only by relinquishing the desire to be happy can you achieve happiness and a deeper form of happiness, which is true deep fulfillment. And that's where this inevitably gets you, where with the understanding that the war is the dance, that there's no God and you warring against each other, and the separation and the completion and the clashing of wills which creates this moment. Whenever you understand that that is kind of true, but only in the sense that they clash together beautifully, they become one, they were never separate, they form the same painting, the clash of the colors forms a beautiful synthesis on the painting. Like that is the way that they clash to form a synthesis, not to degrade each other.
It's like
They
a
were never
painting
separable.
with like shadows on the light. It's like it's separate, but it's to form one image.
Yeah, just to increase the beauty, increase the detail more. And so yeah, and then that gets you to like what we were just saying. The final step is the will to taste on the top layer, I guess is what we're gonna call it. Where before we just called it God. The will to taste is a pretty damn good way to top that bad boy off. Now you have Braxel, and the way he explains it is, it's all one will to taste, and that's all you have to understand. It's just that it's one will to taste. If you don't understand that it's a will to taste, then understand that there's your will, there's God's will, and there's the matter, the individual experiences that can take place between the fight of individual wills and God's will, the fight between you and everything else, the everything which comes as the result of the constant disagreement between you and God, the misery that God inflicts upon you and the misery that you inflict back upon God, that is actually just God dancing with himself, pointing at himself and crying at himself and asking himself why. And it's like, you know why,
Yeah.
Tommy. You did it. And there's no other way. And so that's the will to taste. And that's what Braxton says, I guess. So there you go, man. Pretty fucking good, ain't it?
That's quite the story. That's quite the quite the model.
And this was me explaining it shitty, tired, and unfinished. I'm telling you, I'm going to be a tour de force whenever I get this bad boy into perfect words. Well, go ahead and just check the recording and see if it available.
All right.